What's up, everyone? Tyler Tamboline here, a.k.a. Toe Tag and Tambo. We're back. We made it. It's the final week of the regular season. Week 18 is upon us. Got my guys, as always, AP, JT Hayes. Bring them here in a minute. Guys, if you can, on the way in, do us a favor. Hit that like button. Some of you have been in here with us all season long. We appreciate the support. Let's keep those likes going. No different on the last week of the season. A lot to talk about. Big slate, motivation, incentives, roster construction, exposures, player pools, all that good stuff. We'll get into it. AP, I'm going to start with you, man. How you doing? Coming off a Chiefs. Man, they're doing ring around the rosy. Chiefs win, I should say. They're doing everything, getting ready for these playoffs. They look ready to go. How you feeling on this fine Sunday morning, my friend?
That play was wild. I mean, you could, I think the announcers were talking or whatever, and you could see the guy point, and the camera pans that way. It's just like, what are you guys doing? No, I mean, it was a good Chiefs win, obviously, yesterday. I felt like I had the script just right. It's just I didn't have Ronald Jones getting in the box. I mean, just a tough DFS slate yesterday. And we have another tough one today, but we're going to do our best. We're going to break it down. We got a nice spot. If you're looking at the so if you remember, and if you're looking at the heat map, I did it a little bit different. I tried to highlight any incentives and statistical milestone spot. So you're going to see some highlights there just to make it a little bit easier. But, man, I'm excited to dive in and find the winners on this slate.
Yeah, there's a lot to talk about, like you said. And we'll get into the incentive stuff. We'll bring JT Hayes in here first. JT Hayes, what's going on, man? How's it going on this Sunday?
Yeah, good Sunday. Interesting day yesterday. A lot of what we thought was going to happen did not happen. They did not get Kelsey all that much involved yesterday. So that was kind of hurtful. What he looked like one of the best plays on the slate turned out not to be anywhere close to the winner. So, same thing today, right? It's all about trying to find out who's going to play a full complement of snaps, who's going to play 60 minutes of football. And it's tough on this slate because even some of the teams that have a lot to play for are playing against total backups. And so you could see some of these games being over at halftime. So it's a bit of a minefield, but we're going to walk through it.
Yeah, we're going to go through everything. Like you said, we'll get to it as always. AP, I'll come back to you quick. Everyone's starting to pile in. We'll get these likes rolling. Just over 300 watching early on. Appreciate you guys being here with us early on this Sunday morning. AP, let's get sort of a grand scheme overview, as I like to call it. We're talking about the slate as a whole. A lot of the ownership we're going to get to and getting off the chalk and ways to get different, almost like a preseason in week 18, so to speak. But just in general, the ownership sets up with what people are expecting, right? They're going off of, okay, Jalen Hurts, Josh Allen have something to play for. Boom. There's your two highest owned quarterbacks. The secondary to that, Geno and the Seattle Seahawks, they got to do something in the afternoon. But then there is other factors at play. Like if somehow the Ravens could upset the Bengals, don't think it's going to happen. But if it somehow did, now the Chargers got to play in the afternoon. And we saw that last week where McCaffrey, everyone was worried about what Shanahan was going to do with him. While when Philly, the Eagles, lost in the morning last week, it ended up being go time for McCaffrey in the afternoon, and he ended up crushing. So, AP, give us your overview here. First thoughts as we lead into the slate.
Yeah, with week 18, I think it's always important to understand the different motivational spots first and foremost. And so it's really important to understand where these teams are at and who needs to win and then what games don't matter. So like the Bills obviously need to win. Philly needs to win. Bengals should be plenty motivated, need to win just to move up, obviously. So like these are spots that I think, I want to attack. And, given the Bills, Bengals, the whole situation and everything, very unfortunate, obviously. But maybe people kind of are hesitant to go there, even though I think Josh Allen smash spot. I think Joe Burrow stacks, I think are smash spot. And then, the Eagles too, like the thing about Jalen Hurts, he's a rushing quarterback. He could easily run to win. And I think this game, they absolutely smashed the Giants. So you have to ask yourself, is 3 quarters of Jalen Hurts potentially, is that enough in tournaments? So a good tournament slate, as we always say, Tambo. A lot of really good spots, and then there's always going to be some random plays that go off too. So it's a high variance slate. Be ready to get tilted, but man, I think if we just key in on some of these spots, it's going to go in our favor.
Love that. Anybody who parlayed the 18 weeks of it's going to be a great tournament slate, we've got a good tournament slate, or anything along those lines for AP, your parlay just came through. We'll get a tweet out. That's going to be a big win. I mean, at those odds, it might not be that big because it was so obvious, but I agree with you. And really, AP, we've got to what is a great tournament slate. JT Hayes, I'll kick it over to you on that note. What are your thoughts on this slate we got in front of us? There's a lot that we're going to talk through position by position, but just in general, what are some of the thoughts you've got starting things off here?
I'll start with the Philly spot. I do think that's a game that is likely over by halftime, if not sooner. And if it's just not competitive at all on the Giants side, you're going to see a half of Gardner Minshew potentially. You may see a half of the backup running backs there. So to me, that's the most difficult spot to navigate because on paper, you say, yeah, Hurts is going to easily rush for 100 yards. He's easily going to run one in. He may throw for a couple as well, but I just don't know if they get 60 minutes of football. And then your point about last week about the Niners having something to play for after the early games, we've got the Cowboys that might have nothing to play for, the Vikings that might have nothing to play for, and then the Niners again might be locked into that spot if Philly, as expected, wins over the Giants. So maybe leave a little bit of wiggle room to late swap, but I just don't know if the games really have a realistic chance of breaking that way. So you look at the Bengals game, the Bengals-Ravens game. Ravens defense has been playing better, but still, they went into Cincinnati week 16 last year, and Joe Burrow hung 41 points on them. That was a Jamar Chase domination game. He's done that a couple of times against the Ravens. I'm seeing Burrow coming in lower owned right now than, of course, Allen, of course, Hurts, and maybe even Geno Smith. So the 7,300, I think people are going to be concerned about that, but there doesn't seem to be a lot of things to pay up for. If you take out Jefferson, if you take out McCaffrey and say, look, these incentives aren't going to matter much to the teams, and the teams are going to have nothing to play for, then you're looking at a very reasonable mid-level build that allows you to get whatever quarterback you want.
Yeah, and you brought up some good points there, and that'll kick us right into it, AP. I'll go to you and just talk first. But the Jalen Hurts factor, right? First off, coming back from injury, what's that look like? Do they run Sanders more? Do they run the backups when it gets to the second half? Could you play a backup to those guys? That's a thought. Then you've got the idea of, like, again, if they're way up at halftime, San Francisco's watching that. Kyle Shanahan, we make fun of coaches all the time. How sharp are they really? But Shanahan, I think, sharp enough to know to keep an eye on that. And then does he need to keep his guys rolling? Because obviously rolling at the same time slot. And we'll talk about that when we get to running back because McCaffrey's popping up there. And then the stuff with Josh Allen. I mean, I see Allen and Burrow personally as two of the better spots because I think it's just Allen sets up so well for stacking partners. And then Joe Burrow, our guy Big T's talked about it a million times this season, just how often he wins people the millie. Now he's cheaper, coming in as the third or fourth highest owned, maybe not even when we see how things shake out. And people are wanting to bring up some of these cheaper guys. Two of the guys I'm seeing not talked about, and then I'll kick to you, AP, is Dak Prescott. For sure, Dallas still has to win. And then Burrow's being talked about some, but it's more like, oh, I'll play Chase because there's not many guys to pay up for. How many people are actually going to stack Burrow, Chase, Hurst, and then either run it back or don't? So, AP, I'll come to you on quarterback. It looks like Hurts, Allen for sure with the known motivation. Then guys like Geno, similar setup, motivation at home, Seattle. And then it sort of trickles down from there and gets spread out. What are your thoughts at the quarterback position?
Yeah, I mean, starting with the Bengals, they kind of got the, short end of the stick with this whole deal, going from kind of controlling their fate, depending on what, the Chiefs, obviously now not so much with the Chiefs beating the Raiders, but they still could have moved up to that number 2 spot. Now it's if they don't win, you're talking coin flip to host a game. And so I think they come out. I think they are plenty motivated. And they could absolutely hang one here on the Ravens. And I like attacking Baltimore through the air. So I think it sets up to be Joe Burrow to Chase, maybe even stack it with Higgins. I mean, one rule I always, have kind of done is Higgins or Chase in that scenario just to capture that upside there. Both guys priced way, way, way up, but we're going to have plenty of value on the slate to make it work. So outside of I'm trying to get away from the Jalen Hurts because I think he's steamed up because I think with all the question marks on the slate, people go there for safety. And I want high upside spots. And I'm not saying Hurts doesn't have upside. He definitely does. It's more of, is he going to play the whole game? When they're up 30, whatever, is he still going to be in there? Why would he? It wouldn't make any sense at all, especially when you have a competent backup, which he does. So that gets me on Joe Burrow. I absolutely love him. I think stacking him up with Chase is a phenomenal way to go. And then I'm going to Josh Allen too. So those are the two spend ups I want over Jalen Hurts. And I think we will get a little bit of leverage there. People are always afraid to, attack the Patriots and everything. But look at their implied team total, 26 points. I think they could absolutely have a nice game here. And Diggs, man, we know Bill Belichick likes to take away the number one. Well, it hasn't been the case. Like Diggs has had some really nice games against this Patriots defense. So that's another spot that I want to go to. And then when you're talking true Millie Maker stuff, I'm gonna get cute in some spots. I know we'll leave some of them for you guys. I know someone was talking about Joe Flacco and a few things like that. I'm interested in going back to Russ Wilson. I think the Chargers are going to be in a spot. I don't think when we get to the afternoon window, I don't think they're going to have anything to really play for. And I think as they start to rest people, it's just a spot where, the Broncos don't have anything to play for. Might as well let Russ cook in a spot that doesn't even matter at all, but it gives them some sort of positive finish to their season. If you look at them last week, they were trying. They were right in it. They had a chance to beat the Chiefs. I think going out beating the Chargers would be at least a small win on a very, very bad season for this Broncos team. So I think Russ to Cortland Sutton, Jerry Jeudy, I think is another interesting stack that I'm going to go to. But yeah, I plan on having in my main builds, getting on these guys that I feel very confident in, the ones I talked about. And then when we're talking that Millie Maker, the $20 on DraftKings, Dambo, this is for me. I'm unloading the crowns. I'm going, all in on the crowns, loading up on these tickets, and I'm going to get cute for sure.
Yeah, I'm doing the same today. It's kind of just to have fun with it in that spot. My main builds is where I'll spend most of my time. The core up on the site. If you guys aren't a member yet, you can go to runpuresports.com, get signed up. It's all sports, one price. Those that follow me know getting into golf season. So we got all the sports, of course. Still have NBA. MLB is going to be down the road a little bit. MMA, all the other sports that we've got. But just in general, golf is a big one right now. If you like football, it's the best sport to cross over with. I know for me, kids, family, working a job back before, I was having to do what sports can I focus on? Football and golf, so similar in the sense you can just do it. It's once a week. It's kind of weekly. You do the showdown slate, sort of add to it. You can sweat it out on Friday, Thursday, all that stuff. And then, of course, you get your Sunday sweat when we don't have football. So check out golf if you haven't already. A lot of people like that sport with us. There's lots of other great stuff going on, though. JT Hayes, I'm going to come to you here in a second. Likes are starting to pile in, guys. We got to get at least 500 likes. I know it's only 500 watching right now, but people are just starting to wake up. It's the last week of the season. We've cut the number way down. So hit that like button if you're just joining us. Get us over 200 quick, and then we'll move from there. JT Hayes, before I come to you, just one quick thing, couple notes. First off on this slate, late swap slate, right? People keep talking about AP just brought up some good points, but if people are on Jalen Hurts, you can get to Dak in the afternoon. You can get to Herbert if somehow the Bengals did get beat. I don't think it's going to happen, but just saying it, you can get to let Russ cook. You talked about that. There is other good spots in the afternoon that you can pivot to. So definitely have some afternoon lineups set up. We could definitely see a slate where that ends up being important. Second note, not even what happened last week with FanDuel where it got flexed and they just included the late game. They just decided to include them all this week. Say, forget it. So on FanDuel, it has the Detroit Green Bay game on it on top of all the other games. So it's a 14-game slate. So I would say keep that in mind because the Detroit Green Bay game pops. There is a lot going on there. Again, we'll wait and see how motivated Detroit is based on how things shake out. But just in general, keep an eye on that. And then JT Hayes, I'll come to you on these quarterbacks, man. One note on Jalen Hurts, and I'll let you take it from there. This guy's the guy that got it done in the first half all season, isn't it? So I know you talked about that, but I know some people were bringing that up as well, that can't he just get the job done in the first half? Because that's what was happening. Now, with that said, he wasn't hitting the point total that we were really looking for. So give us your thoughts at quarterback, JT Hayes, and then some sleepers on this slate that you might have.
Yeah, I mean, with Hurts, there's just uncertainty. And that's something that on a slate with so much uncertainty, do you want to pay $8,200 for that level of, I really don't know what's going to happen, right? Miles Sanders cooked the Giants team. The first time these two teams played, a lot of Eagles had big games in that game. Now they're going to play the backup. So, yeah, it certainly is a situation where Hurts could get 20, 24 points in the first half. We saw Justin Fields, I think, in last week's game against, or maybe it was a couple of weeks ago against the Lions, get 18 in the first quarter. And could that be enough on this slate? Yeah, it could. It could, because some of these other quarterbacks may not play a full complement of snaps. So, I mean, that is possible. I look at what Geno Smith did against the Rams the last time they played, putting up 28 fantasy points against them. Seattle absolutely needs to win. And I think you're going to see a full game plan out of Seattle. Smith is not going to be nearly as popular as Hurts and Josh Allen. And I think Geno's in a pretty good spot here. I think that, yes, they're going to run the ball with Kenneth Walker, but I also think that with Lockett looking likely to be back here, then I think he's got his full complement of weapons as well. So I think he's interesting. I'm going to have a very, very small player pool at quarterback. Haven't narrowed down exactly who is going to be in it yet, but probably will have some Hurts. I'll have some Burrow. I'll have some Geno Smith, and then some Josh Allen, and maybe one or two other guys. But I think that's it for me.
JT Hayes, I got to stay with you, man. There, if you want to ship a Millie today, the acronym is SAM. And we've got Sam Ehlinger, Sam Darnold, and Sam Howell. So if you wanted to ship a Millie with a Sam today, which Sam would you pick?
Well, that's a hell of a group.
It is.
But I would probably go with a guy who has actually been playing decently, and that's Sam Darnold. He's got some weapons. That game. I think that game is in New Orleans, is it not? That game is Dome. Yes. So I mean, that's it's a good environment. He's got some weapons. Well, he's got DJ Moore. I would go with Darnold. But again, if you're paying down for him, the ceiling there is probably 25 fantasy points for Darnold. That's fine. Do you need to pay down a quarterback, right? Because I just don't know, with the Niners playing the backups for Arizona, with the situation with the Chicago Bears, how much run are Justin Jefferson and Christian McCaffrey going to get today? That's the thing that I think is really important to figure out. Because if you're playing those guys hoping that you're going to get the potential for the 40-point ceiling and they're out of there in 2 quarters, it's probably not going to happen.
Yeah. AP, do you have a favorite Sam there? I'm only bringing it up because I want to talk about at least one of them, but go ahead. Any Sam love for you?
We're talking what? Sam Howell? Who are the Sams? Ehlinger and
Sam Howell
and Darnold.
Darnold.
I like Sam Darnold. And I like this. I like this game. We'll get to receiver and stuff, but man, the Panthers, secondary obviously got torched by Brady last week, and then the week before that, I think it was the Lions. I think it was Sharp caught a few deep balls. So I think it's an interesting game to stack up. I have it highlighted. I love Sam Darnold to DJ Moore, and then you can run it back with Olave or Rashid Shaheed. So yeah, I'm definitely on Sam. Out of the Sams, Sam Darnold will be one of the stacks that I'm on. The other two, no, I can't get to. I can't get to it all.
I like that because the DJ Moore one. So my guy would be Sam Darnold for sure. It's just Darnold, Moore. You don't double stack. You don't have to. You just run those two. Pick a guy, like you said, Olave or Shaheed. You want to get cute, you could go to Kamara and just see in the last game if they decide to run him at 6,600, but I prefer a wide receiver there. I don't hate that. The Sam Howell one, just a backup for note, is that, they'll be just testing out what he's got. He's super cheap. Again, JT Hayes, though, brought up a great point, and we'll talk about it when we get to running back and wide receiver with McCaffrey and Jefferson, especially those two, is how much do you need of them? But is there another way you could go about it? What if you get in a Jamar Chase and a CD Lamb, 2 guys in big time spots that can put up 30 to 40, and that could be huge as well. So I don't hate it. I'm just saying that's where I would leave it at. Don't like Sam Ehlinger. One more guy. And I just sort of thought about this morning, and it leads in, if you guys have nothing else, we can get to running back here in a second. AP, I'm going to come to you in a minute. But, the last guy for me, Kenny Pickett, easy to stack. Kenny Pickett, you can pick Pickens, Deontay Johnson, and or Freiermuth. I'm just putting him with 2. You can run it back with Amari Cooper, who I know they're trying to get some, I think it's 1,000 yards or whatever it is they're trying to get him. So, again, we'll talk incentives more so in a minute, probably when we get to wide receiver in a few minutes, when we get to Justin Jefferson. But just in general, they're trying to get some of these little things along the way. I think it could make sense. Pittsburgh has to win. And the segue here is that it looks like Najee Harris is going to be 20% plus along with some of these other guys. So AP, I'll come to you on this one. We got Tyler Algier, Jonathan Williams with no Robinson and Gibson for Washington. You've got McCaffrey, who's still getting love. People are just going there because they need to spend the money in some places. Kenneth Walker and Akers both in that game. And then some love for guys like Najee and Miles Sanders. But Najee does push up around 20%. So what are your thoughts here at this running back position? We'll talk through this.
Yeah, starting there with Tyler Algier, I love the spot for him. I mean, JT Hayes, that offensive line has been doing some work of late. They grade out pretty well in this spot. The other thing, too, is, man, the Falcons. I mean, yeah, whoever their offensive coordinator is, he coaches with like 3 condoms on. I mean, like, talk about like not even like wanting to throw the ball down the field. And JT Hayes, props to you. You've tried to talk me off of like stacking up Ritter and attacking this team all season long. So, my donkey self has fallen victim to that. I played Ritter last week, and watching that, I was like, this is just painful. But I think it's a great spot for Tyler Algier. The price is nice. I think he's going to get a lot of work there. And then Najee Harris, I mean, yeah, he's projecting pretty well. Looks like he'll get some ownership. I like him, and I haven't liked him a lot this year, but it looks like a good spot, 6,100, very fair price tag. I feel like maybe the running back position, especially from like a projection standpoint, that feels like the one safe-ish spot on the slate because we have like Jonathan Williams, Najee Harris, Tyler Algier. It seems like Kenneth Walker, another one. It seems like the volume is going to be there. The guys are in good spots. They're going to have opportunities, from a rushing standpoint, also getting in the end zone. So, like, I see myself building a lot of 2 running back lineups, leaning on these safe guys, and then getting different with my stacks. So, love Algier, love Harris. Those are kind of my primary 2. And then I'm looking at Williams and Kenneth Walker as well.
Yeah, the chat was talking a little bit just when you were going through those running backs about sort of the salary and leaving it on the table. Of course, you can always leave salary. It's fine to be quite clear though. In Millie Makers, especially, salary usage over like past 5 years of data has been 49.7 and above. And I didn't check exactly on week 18s. And of course, there's lots of options. And we talked about not being able to spend up in some places and these options that we're unsure of, but there's other ways to do it. And it also goes back to the Hurts and the Allen ownership at the previous position we talked in quarterback, where that's why people are comfortable to getting there. They have the money down low to spend. If Josh Allen hits 35 today, this is obvious stuff. I get it. I'm saying, but if he hits 35, who of Joe Flacco and Sam Howell and Kenny Pickett and the guys where, me and some others are taking shots on, who are those guys that are even going to come close, and how guaranteed is it that the other spots will get there? I didn't mention Flacco earlier, but again, I was just looking at Flacco, Garrett Wilson, Tyler Conklin, the guy he's throwing the ball to. If that makes everything work and you want to fit other pieces around it, I've got no problem when we have a condensed stack that at least makes some sense. He throws the ball more. Those guys catch it. You can rack them up PPR points wise. But again, if it's Allen to Diggs for 2 touchdowns and Knox catches 1 and McKenzie gets 7 targets, it could just be Bills onslaughts. It could be, Burrow with Chase, with Hurst. There's lots of other ways that you can go about it. JT Hayes, I'll come to you on this running back position or any other thoughts you have there. But running back, we talked through the chalk. What are your thoughts with it?
Yeah, I mean, Algier and Patterson is a full split, and Patterson is $300 cheaper. I don't know if I can get to Patterson. I mean, we've seen that Algier is the guy that's going to do the bulk of the rushing there. I like Kenneth Walker. I'm sure a lot of people will today, but 6,400 against a Rams defense that's been shredded, and that he's going to get the work there. I know you mentioned that you don't like Najee because he's going to be popular. You can't really argue about what the Browns defense has been giving up on the ground. Now they have no Jadeveon Clowney, who was downgraded to out after he told one of the Cleveland newspapers that he wasn't going to be back next season. So they punished him by saying, don't play for us. Whatever. Alvin Kamara is interesting. He's popping in optos. And I started looking at it. I'm like, well, this game doesn't mean anything. They don't have anything to play for. I don't really like to take running backs against Carolina, but he does have the ability to catch the ball out of the backfield. It's just Dennis Allen hasn't used him that way. And so the concern for me with Kamara is more so the coaching staff there and what they're going to do in this game. So I think Miles Sanders is interesting a little bit at 5,900 just because, I don't know how long they're going to play starters, but we've seen with the Giants starters that they give up a ton on the ground. And so I think that certainly he could get there in 1/2 as well. And then James Cook at 5 flat on the Bills there. They've been giving him a little bit more work. And with the game script there, could be a spot where Cook gets a few extra snaps here.
JT, what about some of these backups? And look, I know it's week 18. It's like a preseason in some ways, but at the same time, we just mentioned a bunch of guys. You don't need to go to these backups. You can play some of these good spots. You can play some of the under-owned spots. We didn't talk about Zach Moss going up against Houston. Why don't they just run him out? We didn't talk about the Denver guys. Maybe they don't want to see. I know some people are mentioning Latavius Murray. Maybe they say, let's see what we got in Chase Edmonds and roll him, assuming the Bengals get the job done. They're almost 10-point favorites. So if that happens and the Chargers rest, I could see that. But some spots that are being mentioned are, okay, you talked about Philly smashing it. Well, do you see Boston Scott? Do you see Game? What do you see in the Philly spot, assuming they get up early and then go with the run? What do you see from Minnesota? They've already talked this week about, look, we're probably, they hinted at resting their starters, and it's going to get to wide receiver here in a minute when we talk about Justin Jefferson. But if they do, Madison is 7,000 on FanDuel. He's 5,100. And this is one of the best matchups in the league on the ground. I know the Texans get a lot of talk in that aspect, but Madison at 5,100 on DraftKings. Is there any backups that you could talk about here that you'd be comfortable getting to on this slate?
Madison is the one that's most interesting. And the reason why, for what you stated, they've been kind of careful with Dalvin Cook all season long. And with the way this game shapes up, again, in Philly, there's a guy in here, Stingrays, that corrected me. Philly does not play in the early window. So all these teams that have a chance to get the top spots in the NFC are going to be playing at 425. So it's even harder, because then you're going to say, all right, I'm going to go into 425, but you can't swap, because if those games blow out quickly and San Francisco pulls their guys and Dallas pulls their guys because of what's happening in the Philadelphia game, then you're just kind of screwed. But Madison is the one that's interesting, because Minnesota's pretty much locked in. They know they can't get the 1 seed. So 5,100, very interesting for a guy that was going to get maybe 10 to 12 snaps anyway against a terrible rushing defense. Tambo, it's tougher for me to get to guys like Jonathan Williams, just because I don't know what I'm dealing with there, right? We never trust Ron Rivera to begin with, and now we're going to trust him with the 3rd or 4th string running back. Listen, he could work out. I get it. He's 4,300. He's cheap. It's just probably not for me on this slate. And then Zach Moss, he did play the majority of snaps in Indy last week, but coaching staff, terrible. That Houston defense, yes, it's been terrible against the run. It's just hard for me to get locked in on Zach Moss. Maybe I'll have a few shares, but my goodness, is that really where I want to go on this slate? I don't know.
But both of those guys, I mean, I can't imagine. Houston's definitely not wanting to win this game. So It's going to be just incredible to watch. That might be the worst game,
the ugliest game ever
across the board, just watching these two teams try and lose. But AP, did you have some cheap guys, like some of those backups I talked about? I think Madison does intrigue me the most if you're going there. The issue is, like you say, when you got Jonathan Williams with nobody, I know that they have Jarrett Patterson and all that. I get it. Najee, I wasn't saying I didn't like him. I was saying that I know everyone else does. So if you want to have some, especially in that $20 Millie Maker where you're throwing it in, I think it could definitely be through the air where it's like a Pickett, Freiermuth, Deontay, or Pickens, and then you run it back with a Murray. That to me seems like it could make sense. Patterson is the guy that worries me with Jonathan Williams there. I think he could definitely show up and get some of that work where they're both playing sort of those Gibson Robinson roles with two different names on them. AP, go ahead. Thoughts on any of these other cheap or backup running backs?
Yeah, like in my main 5 builds, where a lot of my volume's at, I'm sticking with these guys that I feel are relatively safe, the ones I listed. But in Millie Maker formats, yeah, like if Philly goes up big early, could we see like Kenneth Gainwell, Boston Scott mix in? I definitely think so. I mean, we saw them not too long ago mix in, so it's a perfect spot if the game's over at halftime, which I think we all think it will be. Where I'm going to set some fair numbers. I'm going to put the sim factor or whatever all the way to the max. And if some of those guys rotate in, I'm going to roll with it. But so it's more of like an opto type of thing. Just because like picking out which ones I actually like really like. I mean, yeah, it's difficult because they all come with quite a bit of risk. So I don't know. Like I do think Najee, I mean, JT Hayes said it, like, this Browns defense, or I think you both said it, but they're lying. I mean, man, they're getting absolutely torched. So it does seem like a really safe spot here for Najee Harris. And then like Tyler Algier, the one reason I do like him, I mean, I get Cordell Patterson and what he's been doing, but man, like let Algier do his thing. I mean, Cordell Patterson, how long has he been in the league for? What, 8, 9, 10 years, something like that? I don't know if JT Hayes knows.
It's a lot.
Any idea? I mean, he's like the vet on their team, so you got to think it's a spot for Algier. So those are going to be the guys that I lean on. And then, yeah, Jonathan Williams seems like the value that's projecting really well. But as JTA said, there's a lot of risk with that situation.
Yeah, and the one thing I will say, just again, I keep saying it, like I can see Najee cash games, main lineups and stuff. He's very, very safe play at 6,100. But the other side of the coin is like they're literally working Jaylen Warren in a bunch. Like the guy's been playing 40% of the snaps for weeks now, getting a ton of targets, going through, like he's taking away from him. They do have to win the game and everything that goes with it. But the other side of it is they can definitely move that ball through the air. So even if you don't want to go to the full stack, I'm just saying I like, we've seen it so many weeks. What was it last week with Dortch? And it ends up, and this is a different example, Dortch, it ends up being McBride. You've got situations like we see this all the time where you can just leverage up in the same spot. What if tight end, if you don't love it, we'll get there soon. But if you don't love it, can't you just go with a guy like Freiermuth and just say he does the job today and you're done? Take over. Maybe he takes one of the touchdowns away, ends up being a little bit more Warren than Najee. You don't have to go to the backup in that spot. You can just move it around. So I don't hate Najee. I'm just saying in general, I look at it from that perspective. Didn't talk about some of these other guys down here, JT, just give a couple of them. Gary Brightwell, knowing the Giants aren't doing anything. Some have mentioned him. I saw him in the chat. And in the Arizona side of things, Corey Clement, they've got, Keontae Ingram, no James Conner, of course. Anything else you want to add with them before we move on to wide receiver?
On the Arizona side, I don't think I've played a running back against the Niners all season long. I'm certainly not going to start today with the Arizona backups. In terms of Philly, you bring up a good point about the backups there, but you do have two of them, right? So you got Scott, you got Gainwell, and it's just, again, you could do this, right? You could play this slate and try and guess who are going to be these backups in these random situations, right? Or you could go to a guy like James Cook. You could go to a guy like Alexander Madison. You could play Algier, who AP's right. He's going to get the bulk of the carries. I just don't think you're not going to see any Cordero Patterson. I think you're going to see some. But you could go to, I think I mentioned Walker, right? So those are the ones that I feel more comfortable about. I think we'll have some opportunities to guess here in some of these spots. There are teams that I'm going to be comfortable doing that, like with the Vikings, like with the Bills, even maybe with a Samaje Perine with the Bengals, which I think what AP was kind of hinting at. Mm-hmm. And then there are teams like the Commanders, Arizona, that I'm just not going to try and guess.
Yeah, and then one last, not on these backups and stuff. I think we talked through enough of them, but just two more quick things. One, the last backup I'll give, I know our guy Tyler just had it in the chat. I think I can do this now. Where can you pull it up here? Look at this. He said Chase Edmonds 2+ TDs versus the Chargers today. I don't hate that one. Like I said, I expect it to be a spot where since he rolls, the Chargers sit guys. Again, if it doesn't happen that way, you can always late swap. But I'm talking in general. I think they'd want to see more of what they've got with Edmonds than they would want to see, however old. We just talked about Cordero Patterson, but you don't need to see what Latavius Murray's got for you in that game. I think you can just run that ball out. So I know there's talks of Wilson, and the stacks do make sense that AP brought up earlier with how cheap Sutton is. We're going to get to wide receiver in a second anyway. And then lastly, I think it was Shannon. Shannon said it here. Cam Akers Day. That could be a thing too. Again, he's still getting some love and some ownership, but also a great late swap opportunity because I think we know that Kenneth Walker is popular. He's in the exact same game at home in the must-win, $200 more. If you have that in your flex, let's say, or it doesn't have to be in your flex, but assuming if you had 3 running backs, it would be hopefully if you set your lineups up or if he is the most expensive in that spot, you could just flip that to Akers if you think it's going to be a little bit less owned. So I don't hate that call as well. AP, elephant in the room almost, but I don't know, maybe it came down a little bit in conversation with them coming out and saying they might rest their starters. Of course, going to wide receiver here, Justin Jefferson. He's expensive. He's 9,100, but he's come down from his price of 95 last week. Last week, he had a chance to really put himself in a great position here. This is a guy that can get 100 yards in the first quarter and be well on his way to this record here. But at the same time, if he doesn't, like what do you think ends up happening here? So I think we talked a little pre-show, these incentives. How much do they really chase them? How much do they really force it? We'll have to wait and see. But what's your thoughts on Jefferson? And then talk us through this wide receiver position.
Yeah, so a couple things. One, and this actually lines up really well with the Alexander Madison call. One, if you're going to do that, if you're going to play him, make sure to play the Vikings defense. Nathan Peterman, I think he has, 3 interceptions in his career to 2 touchdowns. I mean, the guy is an interception machine. So here's the problem that I see with Justin Jefferson. I get the incentive. I think he lost it last week, though, with the dud that he put up because, he needs 200 yards. The game script is not going to be favorable. Imagine if what do they call him, Peter Copter? Imagine if he throws, first quarter, throws a pick for, pick six, and then does it again. I mean, your script is absolutely gone. Like, they're not going to just funnel the ball to Justin Jefferson just to try to get that record, needing like 200 yards. That would just be stupid to risk injury that way. So I'm going away. I hope he gets steamed up. I'm not going to be on Justin Jefferson at all. If anything, I like the idea of the Alexander Madison call with the Vikings defense just playing on playing on the fact how bad Nathan Peterman is. As far as wide receivers go, man, I'm not on Jefferson. I am on Jamar Chase. Absolutely love this spot for Jamar Chase. I'm also on Steph Diggs. So if I'm spinning up, those are the two guys that I'm going to go to. I feel very confident. Important game here. They got to get the dub. I feel very good about those two spend up options. And then as far as like upside tournament, game doesn't matter as much, to some extent. We talked about the Panthers. I love DJ Moore. I do think Darnold kind of playing for his football life, so he has all the incentives and motivation in the world, in my opinion. And on the other side, I think Chris Olave or Rashid Shaheed, I think, are two interesting run backs there. We've seen we've seen the deep ball be very, very successful against the Panthers. So we saw a lot. I wish we would have gotten on Brady last week. I needed Matty Ice. Matty Ice hits me up every single week talking up Brady. Absolutely just peeling to Tom Brady, and he didn't last week. So Matty Ice, very, very hurtful. I wouldn't have played him anyway, so it did not matter. But it's a spot that I'm going to go back to in attacking the Panthers here. So as far as spend-up options go, Tambo, very, very high on Jamar Chase and Stephon Diggs.
Yeah, and I was going to say this. We talked pre-show, and I couldn't remember AP. I kept saying incentives. There's no money incentives, at least that I know of, for Garrett Wilson. Just going to him for 2 seconds because he is the highest owned. But the incentive is the rookie of the year. Basically, you got him, Olave, guys like that are really working to get after that. So our guy Alex just had it in the chat, reminded me of it. Thank you to Alex, because that is something that I think is where people are going and why the ownership's going there as well. JT Hayes, let's talk Justin Jefferson first. Your take on it, because I think AP laid it out quite nicely, kind of how I feel. But give me your thoughts on Justin Jefferson, and then talk to me about the rest of this wide receiver position, at least up top with the ownership.
Yeah, it feels, and it's not the same because the Chiefs needed to win yesterday, but we were all over Mahomes needing 430 yards for the single season record, Kelsey needing 13 receptions for the single season record. The Chiefs didn't care at all. I don't think the Vikings are going to care at all here. I think they're in a situation where a win might not mean anything, and even if they do win, second versus third, not that huge of a deal. So I'm on board with at least limiting Jefferson in the player pools here. And then I want to get back to something that Tyler from the bet side, TH412, that's who that is in chat, with Chase Edmonds 2+ touchdowns. I mean, okay, I understand that he's a backup, but you've got a 70-year-old, 76-year-old interim head coach, an organization that's in complete disarray, and we think that they're going to coach logically. We think that they're going to see what they have. So it's just a tougher spot for me to get to. I get it if you want to take that chance, but Tyler's great. Tyler comes in on our Monday shows, always throws some nuggets out. Tyler, that's one that I can't get behind. But to your point of wide receivers, yes, Garrett Wilson, 5,800. DJ Moore, fairly cheap too. I like Lockett. I like DK, 64 and 6,700. These guys torched the Rams in Los Angeles. Now they absolutely need to win. Geno Smith come back to earth a little bit as of recently, but I think he gets it going here. I like Jamar Chase, 8,400. Tyler Boyd looked like he was on the way to perhaps a big game in that Monday night game just last week. Now he was 5,300, I think, on the showdown slate. He's 4,600 DraftKings on this slate. So I like Tyler Boyd. Rashid at 4,200. And then a guy that we played a lot last week, and it didn't work out for us, and it was very hurtful. He's still going to get the same 8 to 12 targets. Now he may get them against the backups. London Drake is 4,900 here, and I think that's a spot where you can go right back to him.
I like that name better than Drake London. London Drake. I really like that. That's a good reverse.
Did I transpose it? I don't know.
London Drake.
Yeah.
I like it.
That's a good one. Oh, Olave Chris might have a day. The chat did talk about that, right? Olave, I think our guy Anthony had it here. Olave is, I don't know.
I do like
didn't
Olave
check this,
Chris.
but this makes sense. And Olave Chris, if we just start flipping all these names, Sutton Cortland, who AP brought up. I mean, we could do this all day, but AP, give me some of the other guys. You did mention Cortland Sutton, of course, going back to the normal, $4,800. We talked about Judy as sort of the pay up option there. If you wanted to go with those Russ stacks, going down the board, some of the other guys, some of the cheap guys too, maybe, some are talking about $3,400 Tutu Atwell in that game, just as a bring back. Baker's liked him. There's a lot of different options here on this slate. Who are some of the other guys that you like at wide receiver?
Are we changing the name of the show to like off the chalk, dyslexia version? Getting everything backwards.
What would it be? Chalk the off?
Chalk the off. There we go. I'm a God. All right. So we're talking cheap receivers. Yeah, this is where, you can definitely get really creative. I'm going to try to, keep kind of the earmuffs on. Just like I know players are going to get steamed up, and if there's any spots where chalk is really consolidating around, I want to move off of those type of spots. Brandon Cooks may be one of those guys, but man, they haven't had anything to play for since week 4. the Texans I'm talking about, and Brandon Cooks still in there getting peppered with targets. So he's one I'm looking at. London Drake, as JT Hayes said, I was so high on him last week. I went off and off and off talking about him. And JT tried to tell me about this offense. They're not throwing the ball down the field. So it's all volume. It's volume, and you need them to get in the end zone. And if that doesn't happen, you're going to get 14 from him. You're going to get 13 from him, which I don't think is going to be enough in tournaments, because I think people go to him as a safety valve. And we know there's going to be unknowns, randoms that put up monster scores this week. I wish I knew who they were going to be. I don't right now. But what I'm forcing myself to do is just get different no matter what. And that means maybe playing wide receiver 2s in certain spots. Maybe instead of Stephon Diggs, it's Gabe Davis. Maybe Isaiah McKenzie. McKenzie also has some incentives on the line here that I think are very easy to obtain. I think only a couple catches. I have him highlighted as incentive. He's 3,500. But too, if the Patriots kind of playing on the Bill Belichick scheme there, if he does try to take away Diggs or Davis, McKenzie's going to be one of those guys that maybe he gets in the box. Maybe he gets one of those touchdowns. Then Rashid Shaheed, the other guy that I like. But I do think Shaheed is going to be someone that gets steamed up. And that's why I really like Olave in this matchup too, because both guys are deep threats. Especially Olave too, out of Ohio State. And then, the extra incentive there as well. So love Olave. And then down here in the cheap range, I'm just going to mix it up. I'm not going to get extremely overweight on any one guy. I do think so. Thinking back to the 49ers, and this is kind of messing with my head. I want your guys' thoughts, but the Raiders, the Chiefs own the Raiders. Shout out Big T. He talking on the show yesterday. He was concerned that KC was just going to smash them, and I wasn't as confident. I thought the Raiders would put up a better fight. They didn't. But how do you put up a fight against a 49ers team that's praised as the best defense ever or whatever? I mean, they made the Raiders look incredible. Maybe not the case. Maybe this 49ers defense isn't as good as we all think. Greg Dortch, the volume is going to be there. We saw it last week. We saw it the week before. Same with Hollywood Brown. I think those guys are a little bit interesting as well.
Yeah, the Dortch flop leg. He didn't get there from a scoring perspective, but 10 targets last week. Still pretty interesting. You got that spot. The chat mentioned some other ones there, Davis Gabe. They reversed it. You could do Dave Gavis too if you wanted to really flip it. But yeah, that spot is obvious. If you're gonna stack up Gabe Davis, you're doing it with Allen. If Gabe Davis gets there, it's 2 bombs or something where Allen's connected and you just crush. So he's fine with it. The McKenzie pairing, if you wanted to go off Diggs, like AP was sort of hinting at there, you just go Allen, Davis, McKenzie if you want, and do it that way. You could run it back with a Patriot if you wanted, right? They've got a little something to go after here. Again, I don't think they're going to be able to come close, but that's just my opinion. So we'll wait and see how it goes. But some of the other guys down there too, I think they mentioned Justin. The one thing about Jefferson, and I'll come back to you for final thoughts here, JT, before we move to tight end, but is it getting too much? There's always that flip-flop of how it goes. Like at the start of the week, it was like, all right, way too much of Justin Jefferson based on the fact that he's getting over-owned. It's just an incentive-based conversation. Now it's like, oh, they said the starters, so we start to balance it. It might sit. So now they're starting to balance the other side. I'm seeing them drop to like 15% instead of the 25 we were expecting. Sometimes you just got to say, if they're going to run him out there, what if he has 100 in the first quarter and they just decide to keep running him and rolling him out? So final thoughts on Jefferson, and then final thoughts at the position. Anybody else you want to talk about?
Yeah, I mean, it's a tough situation, and I don't have the answer. We don't know what the Minnesota coaching staff is going to do. What we do know generally, though, is if this game turns out, and it matters very little as it is right now, right? We're talking about the second versus the third seed. But, you run this guy out, and God forbid there's an injury or something in the second quarter, in the third quarter, and now you lose him for the playoffs. I mean, I just don't see the reason to do that from, again, a logical coaching standpoint. Could we see a logical coaching? Yes. Could they decide that they want to see him get this record and just pepper him for a quarter and a half, and it happens, and he gets 25 fantasy points, and he's maybe the highest or the second highest scoring receiver on the slate, and you absolutely need him? That could happen too.
Yeah. Anybody else? I know, we didn't talk about the Seattle guys much, like Metcalf, Lockett. Obviously, this is an interesting one, JT. I'll stay with you for a second, but last week, you go back. It had nothing to do with projections last week, really. There was some projections out there that liked the Brady stacks a little, but it was mostly due to motivation, and it was just pretty obvious. Brady, Evans, Godwin, Moore, and then fit in who you fit in because it was a must-win game, because it was the spot. Now you've got a spot here where Seattle must win. It's worked. They're cheap enough. Geno, Lockett, Metcalf, run it back with whoever you choose. Leave it to that, or don't run it back. My point would just be, is there any way to get to that for you? Do you see that where they could come through instead of the Kenneth Walker chalk, who looks like the highest owned running back as we speak?
Yeah, I like it. I mentioned the Seattle guys. I think the Geno Smith, DK, Lockett, I don't know if it'll be my core here, but it's very close to the top right now just because of the pricing on it. You're looking at, 19,000 for those three guys on DraftKings. I like Walker too, though, because Walker's a big part of their offense. I think they all could get 20 plus fantasy points. And on this slate, I think that likelihood is higher than some of these other guys getting there.
Yeah, Alex brought up a couple others. I don't mind these at all. He talked about Elijah Moore for his homecoming in Miami. Maybe he was good with Flacco in the past. I do know that. He talked about Diami Brown, the college teammate with Hal, who we talked about earlier. So, these are spots you can take chances on. There's all these other guys that we mentioned, a couple others. I mentioned Amari Cooper. I think the Dallas side of things is just going overlooked for a team that has to win, that could just pound this Washington team. All that Hal talk, maybe you can just get different by playing that. Same as last week as Brady, Godwin, Evans. Couldn't it be Dak with either Gallup or Hilton with Lamb? Because whoever you want to go to there need to save money. I think you could definitely see that. Run it back with a Logan Thomas, a Curtis Samuel, a Dotson, or a Diami Brown if you want even. So I think that gets a little bit interesting. And then all the talk, I will say this, AP, I'll come to you real quick. Football side of things and just getting into, without getting into everything else, obviously very happy for the recovery of DeMar Hamlin and all that goes with that. We didn't talk a lot about this, but everyone that's talking about the Burrow side of the stacks, football perspective, of course, today for DFS is talking Burrow, Chase, Hurst. Do you think there's anything here with T. Higgins at 7,600? Obviously a very tough week for him in his own right, where maybe they get him back on track leading into the playoffs and whatnot, everything they've got on the go. Any thoughts on T. Higgins as another receiver for the Bengals versus everyone talking about Chase?
Yeah, it's one of those spots where, if I'm running Burrow stacks, I got to have a couple builds. I got to have one because it could go either way. And so we could sit here and debate all day, who is it going to be? Does anyone really know? Chase, the guy that has tons of upside, but it could also be a Higgins day too. Those two usually don't correlate too well with each other, but if Joey B wants to just pour it on, you could see a full onslaught stack here work as well. So, I'm going to get exposure to both. I prefer Chase, but yeah, you make a good point. Higgins and the 7,600 price tag. I don't think price matters too much on this slate. There's going to be so much value. But price does matter when you're talking about playing against other people because other people it will matter for other people. So I think the 7,600 tag will cap his ownership to some extent, because it's like, why go T. Higgins, when you could go Stephon Diggs for just 300 more. So, I mean, I do think it caps his ownership. So a very interesting kind of leverage move right there. One other spot that I didn't talk about that I do like is Geno Smith in the late window to DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett. Obviously a must-win situation there. The Rams completely, nothing to play for. Baker Mayfield, he's going to try to, be competitive or whatever, but the Seahawks do need to win, so plenty of motivation there. I see that game going two different ways. I see it get the win, lean on Kenneth Walker. So that's why we're talking about running backs. I like Kenneth Walker, but I also see it as, man, if they can't establish it, I see them getting it done through the air with Geno Smith to DK Metcalf or Tyler Lockett. So another stack that I'm going to have a little bit of exposure to on this slate.
Yeah, I like that stack for the full stack better because they're all cheap enough to make it work. I would not play Chase personally. It's my opinion. Chase and Higgins together. I'm going to leverage up the Chase spot with Higgins. I've talked about this plenty in the past. What Chase does, his talent level is excellent, but what he does is draw all the coverage because people just go to it. I don't know, exactly why. Obviously, with how talented he is, maybe it's the easy to see number one on the field. They always roll to Chase, and the numbers don't lie. You can go look it up on Twitter. The snaps with Chase and with Higgins on the field together, it's almost 1,000 snaps, I believe they're up to now. It's actually Higgins beats them in all categories: points per game, DraftKings points, it's very equal, but the price is never equal and the ownership is never equal for whatever reason. So Higgins does bad when he's chalk and Chase is out. Higgins does well when they're both on the field together. So I personally like the Burrow, Higgins, Hurst stack. And then someone mentioned earlier, J.K. Dobbins is out. The Ravens seemingly waving the white flag just a little bit here, and you could see a guy like Gus the Bus get in there for a touchdown or two. That's another cheap option, but at least he fits the stack. Not one of my favorite plays on the slate, but I definitely don't hate that was brought up. So that's all I think at wide receiver. Let's go to tight end, JT Hayes. I'll come over to you. Funny enough, it is interesting that this is where we see this stuff, and I just can't put two and two together in some cases. Like Najee is showing 20%, but so is Pat Freiermuth, but Pickett has none. And again, not saying they stack together perfectly. They did throw the winning touchdown last game against the Ravens to Najee Harris, so you could stack that up. I'm just saying you're not seeing it. So what are your thoughts here at tight end? We got Freiermuth, Goddard, Higbee. Mark Andrews is getting a little bit of love. By the way, I should note, we do have to wait and see there. Obviously, Lamar not playing. Tyler Huntley still questionable. We will find out, but Anthony Brown is ready to go as well there for those Ravens. And if they already got Dobbins out, who knows what they do there in this spot and how that could affect a guy like Mark Andrews. Go ahead, JT Hayes. Talk some tight end.
Yeah, Freiermuth is 3,800. I mean, that's a really, really good price for him. Dalton Schultz, interesting. You mentioned the Dallas game.
Yeah,
taking some of those Dallas pieces. Hurst, you mentioned at 3,100. Yeah, there's an incentive there, but I think the Bengals also want to win this game and leave no doubt about the fact that they're the NFC North champions and, give themselves the best chance in the playoffs there. And then Tyler Conklin, 3,600 for the Jets, getting passes from Flacco, kind of that security blanket for the older quarterback who can't run. So perhaps a lot of checkdowns there.
Yeah, I agree. AP, some of your thoughts here at the tight end position, some of the guys you like, and then talk through the chalk a little bit also.
Yeah, this is the position that I think is easiest to get different at. Just pull up any ownership site. There's a lot of good ones out there. And your top owned guys projected are Pat Freiermuth, Dallas Goedert, Tyler Higbee, Mark Andrews, I think are the top four. I'm Xing them all out. Freiermuth, if he's going to be chalk, like people are going to – like, look at this. All right, Juwan Johnson, I think has potentially a similar target share. Projection-wise, 1 point different, maybe 1.2 different out there standard in the industry to Freiermuth. And he's going to be 2 to 3% owned compared to a 20 to 25% owned Pat Freiermuth. Easy leverage opportunity there. Same with a guy like Albert O. So like what I'm doing, this is my full on how I'm getting different for sure. No two tight end builds for me. I'm Xing out the top four projected owned guys, and then I'm going. I'm getting much higher owned on guys like David Njoku, Albert O. I like Juwan Johnson, and I like Dawson Knox. So I'm just like mixing all of these guys. And I mean, Dawson Knox, he even projects lower than Juwan Johnson, despite like being an absolute touchdown machine, 3 touchdowns over his last 3 games. And I always like Dawson Knox in important games, especially when we're getting closer to the playoffs. So I think the tight end position this week, running back, I'm eating some chalk. Receivers, I'm making sure my stacks align. And then I'm, getting way different with some of these pump values that we talked about. Tight end is where I'm getting all my leverage, fading all the chalk guys, and I'm getting very overweight on some of these guys like Juwan Johnson. I like this game. I think this game, the Panthers Saints, for some reason, indoors. I mean, it just seems like the total's low, I know. But if you think about on this slate, like when I talk about Joe Burrow and Bengals stacks, I'm not running it back with anyone. I don't trust anyone on the Ravens side of the game. So it's a full-on onslaught with no run backs. You could almost make the case, too, with the Bills to do the same thing. Eagles, same thing there. But this is one game, Panthers-Saints, that I just think it could be a sneaky shootout, one that no one expects. We saw it similar earlier on in the season where the game environment kind of blew up. So it comes down to, is Andy Dalton, are they going to throw deep? Are they going to try to get Olave, the rookie of the year award? And then on the other side, can Sam Darnold hit DJ Moore? If that happens, I think this game has sneaky shootout potential. And I like Juwan Johnson in that game too. So tight end, that's where I'm getting different this week.
Yeah, let's go, guys. We got to get those likes up to 500 likes. We got almost 1,100 watching. Take the pause now. Going to go through some more stuff at tight end. Going to hit defense. We got Morning Wood coming up next, so you guys want to stick around for that. They're going to be asking for a lot more likes than that now that you guys are up and ready. So with over 1,100 watching, take 2 seconds now. Hit that thumbs up. The arrow points where to subscribe if you're not subscribed already. We're almost to our 15,000 subscriber goal, which was end of year goal. We're only a week in, so lots of time to still get there. Help us out with that on the way. Lots of good free content coming to you guys. As always, going back for a second here, I'm with you, AP. There's just a lot of places to get different. Like even Njoku on the opposite side of Freiermuth for just $100 more at half the ownership with Watson throwing to him. I mean, that's a spot you could definitely go to. So starting there, that makes sense. Hayden Hurst, I already talked about him. Conklin, even if you didn't go with Joe Flacco, you don't have to stack it up. You can still plug in Conklin. And we've seen this, I think, twice on Millie Maker winners this season where Garrett Wilson was the chalk, but Conklin was still in the Millie Maker either with him or without him, where they leveraged the Wilson chalk. So you could definitely do something like that. Hunter Henry with no Jonnu Smith. He's the guy you could run it back. If you want to go with Allen Diggs McKenzie or Allen Davis McKenzie and run it back with Henry, especially on a site like FanDuel where touchdowns and stuff like that, I think that makes sense. And then I had a couple more down at the bottom. Trey McBride, we saw it last week. We talked about Dortch. Don't need to stack these guys up. You're just simply plugging them in to rack up the points in maybe the second half. Who knows? But just little spots like this where you can go to. And then maybe it's the Jelani Woods flop lag. He's also down there at just 3,000. Everyone liked him last week. There's talks about Zach Moss this week. If you want to go with a different spot in this game, maybe he just gets peppered with targets. The Houston D, much easier task, hopefully, for their offense than it would be the last couple weeks because Indy has not been able to come through. Anybody else? Oh, Alex mentioned your guy, AP. Trey McKitty. If the Chargers run with the backup, do you want to roll with him? I know there's been talks about DeAndre Carter and Everett and their incentives, but what about your guy, the backups for the Chargers there?
I mean, I don't know. I would rather go like Albert O. So I don't think salary is going to matter too much, but yeah. I don't think I can get to McKitty. But again, in Millie Maker formats, who knows? Anything's on the table.
Yeah, just like that. We appreciate it, guys. Just like that, we got to 400 likes. So now we're pushing for the 500. You've got probably about 5 minutes here because we're getting into defense. Then we're going to wrap it up. We'd love to wrap it up with the plays of the day, but we got no problem keeping them back for members only because the members have definitely been with us all throughout this season going through it. So thanks to everyone here that's been with us from week one. It is the last week of the regular season. I should note we'll have some Saturday morning wood shows coming up for the next couple weekends. We'll have some other shows for the playoffs. So we will still have you guys covered here, but just not the same schedule. So keep an eye on that. If you don't subscribe already, you can do it now in the bottom right corner where that arrow's pointing to. JT Hayes, back to you. Interesting note as the week went on. So it started with Minnesota and the Jets, and they're still going to be up there. Don't get me wrong. But now people have money to spend. So I've heard a little bit more talk of 49ers, of the Eagles. They're just going to smash and all these thoughts. But what are you doing here at this defense position today? Who are some of your favorites at the spot?
Yeah. I mean, got to be somewhat interested in Dallas here, right? 3,900 as the highest price spend up. Cincinnati, if it lines up that, you get what was the 4th-string quarterback's name? I forgot. You mentioned it for the Ravens. When you get him in there,
Anthony Brown.
You get him in there at Cincinnati at 3,700. I had the Jets circled here at 2,600, getting Skylar Thompson for the Dolphins. I like them quite a bit. Denver is 2,500 again. And they're at home now against potentially the Chargers backup. So, but I think you could. We've played San Francisco. They've done us right many weeks this season. 4,100 though, could be an opportunity. Of course, if this game gets out of hand, if the Niners really have nothing to play for, then some of those defensive starters could sit too. So you run that risk there. Whereas I think there might be a little bit more of an opportunity. I think the Jets are going to go hard for it, and 2,600 is a pretty good price.
Yeah, AP, talk real quick about this, because one thing I want to you can talk about the position. This part I want you to talk about quick was just last week, San Francisco 49ers. You hinted at it earlier, like they made them look real good, but they were the chalk of the slate. You could give me 500 lineups or 1,000 lineups, and I wouldn't have been leveraging with Jarrett Stidham. I was not expecting that at all, but it ended up working out quite nicely. And you didn't need him. You could have just went to Devontae and said he's a guy that goes against. Is there a spot like that this week where you see? I don't see it with Chicago guys against Minnesota, but could it be like a Tyreek Hill against this Jets defense? Is there something like that you could see here? And then what do you like at the defense position?
I think the spots would be like the Giants showing up against the Eagles. I don't see that happening. Last week I locked the 49ers in, as did a lot of people, and man, Stidham caught them with their pants down and absolutely owned me as well. But defense is the most random position out there. Look yesterday's slate. I mean, 2 of the defenses on that 2-game slate were in the top 6 for highest scoring from a position standpoint. When you're talking about a Chiefs slate with Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce, I think one of the defenses outscored Travis Kelce and almost outscored Patrick Mahomes too, which is just insane to think about. So my take on defense this week is I love the Vikings. I think people are going to be like, oh, the Vikings, their defense sucks. We already saw many comments in chat about that. I was just, browsing, through this, and it's like, oh, we can't, when I was talking about Nathan Peterman and, comments just about how bad the Vikings defense is. Doesn't matter. Nathan Peterman is horrible, absolutely horrible. So I love the Vikings defense, but I'm not locking any one defense in, Tambo. I'm mixing and matching, and I'm just, I got my magic 8 ball, and hopefully I get it right, because that's kind of what defense is when we think about it.
Someone's making me look this up. Just back to tight end for 2 seconds, because
why are people talking about Colby Parkinson in here?
That's what I'm saying. It actually is true, though. It is his birthday today.
Who cares? Who cares? He's still
I don't care at all.
Target.
I definitely don't care. They have way too many options there. If anything, I think it would be Fant flop leg, right? Where you see it. Everyone wanted to play Fant last week. It ended up being Parkinson and Tyler Mabry or Marbury or whatever the hell you say his name. No one knew who the guy was before the game started. That's all I do know. So keeping that in mind, I'm not interested in going there. One note, AP, you brought up that I thought was interesting before I round out defense was, Chris Olave, Shaheed, DJ Moore. These are like 3 of the top 5 or 6 owned wide receivers. So I wonder, that game gets talked about. Is it sneaky? Is it a spot to go to because it's in a dome? Every game, by the way, has low totals, so dead on there. But it feels like it is still popular, even though the quarterbacks aren't. So I like if you're doing it just like a Darnold, Moore, Olave. If it gets there, it gets there. If it doesn't, it doesn't. I'm happy to go to that. Couple quick notes to round out defense. The Seattle Seahawks at home, 3,300, must-win game. If it ends up being them, you could do a way to get a little bit different with your Walker usage is to pair them up with the defense. I don't think as many are doing it. They're showing up at 3 to 5% in ownership for Seattle. So that's a way to use chalk and then dim it down a little bit. The other one is the Broncos. Our guy Tyler brought it up in his chat, in our chat here, that they're at possibly and likely in everything we're seeing today with what the Ravens are doing and the Bengals expected to smash. It's up to, I think, 10 now, the line. So looks like they'll get the job done. Denver going up against backups could be a great spot as well. It would also pair with the Edmonds call. I know JT Hayes doesn't love it, but I was in on that call. Again, the coaching staff, tough to trust, to your point. JT, anything else you want to add here at defense before we get to the not going to get to the plays of the day with 50 likes to go. So anything else you want to add, JT? If not, final thoughts for the slate.
Yeah, just that my play of the day is not Kobe Parkinson.
Okay. I like that. So that's good news that you're not the not play of the day is Colby Parkinson. We got that one. Parkinson Colby, if you will. AP, final thoughts from you with defense, and then final thoughts on the slate. Anything else you want to add?
I mean, my play of the day could have been Olave Chris, but we'll never know. We will never know because we didn't get the likes up there. But no other thoughts. Have fun with the slate. A lot of variance ahead, but it should be a good one.
Yeah, Tony A. I couldn't agree more. Very, very hurtful. Can't get the 500 for the toe. We've been doing it all season. It is what it is. It's fine. It's the last week of the season. We don't mind. We'll keep it in the Discord for the members. We'll all have our plays of the day where there's a lot of other great stuff as well. If you aren't a member, now's the time to join runpuresports.com. Talked about it earlier, but all sports, one price. You can't just hit the like button now and expect to get them. No more Mr. Nice Guy. Last week of the season, lots of stuff. We got the Morning Wood crew coming up next, and I think we're going to bring those guys in, actually. We've got Crain. There's one. We got Hoopster.
Yo.
We got Hoop. And, of course, we don't got Big T. There's no way Big T shows up.
We were so close. We had
we
were ready to go.
You can't even get 500 likes. You can't get Big T up here.
No Big T because we don't got the likes. Rough scene.
I would stay off till 750. And that's not even being greedy. There's almost 1,200 watching. We're not going to have any 3-minute countdown transition where you got to wait around and listen to some terrible music. We're just going to go straight in with the crew where Crane's going to take it away. So last thoughts for me, guys. Have fun with the slate. I took down tons of notes as we go. You still got to pinpoint something. Don't throw 10 random darts. It's not the best way to do it. Get around something so if it has a chance of hitting, you at least have some outs at it if you do make a good call. So that's my final advice. Appreciate all you guys. Love doing this show every single week. Crain, I'm going to leave it over to you, man, for AP, for JT Hayes, and for myself. You can get us out of here, and let's roll. 6 to midnight, baby. Let's go.
Good luck today, fellas.
Good luck, everybody, and enjoy the show because I got to listen to a little bit more of it this morning. It was a good time. JT, AP, Tambo, appreciate you guys doing that show. Tony, appreciate you joining us. Tony, we almost had a seamless transition there.
We were so
close.
I was watching. I enjoyed it, actually. I enjoyed the dramatics.
Tony's just watching, then he gets the, oh, shit moment. And then he's like, well, all right, let's just hop on in there. And, of course, we're hopping on into NFL Week 18 over here on Run Pure Sports. Check us out over at runpuresports.com. I got to say, though, everybody, I'm a little bit disappointed that they didn't get you to 500 likes. And you know what? We work hard.
Crain, I'm a little disappointed that you went with the 0-1-0 instead of the 0-1-2.
I went with the 0-1.
Oh, the zero. It looks a little thin up top.
Well, I'll tell you, it's not. It's a little bit longer, but I fucking did it myself.
You did it yourself?
Well, okay, so
was the barbershop still closed?
I got the 0-1-2, and it didn't look right, so I just freaking chopped the 2 off.
How'd you do it by yourself at home, though? What'd you do it with?
Fucking took a razor, and I went like that. What
like a normal razor?
I had the
clipper thing.
The same thing I trimmed my beard with.
How'd you do the top with that thing?
What do you mean? I went like this.
What do you mean? It was the buzzer with the attachment. I mean, you got nothing to lose at that point because you're just going to the.
You always have something to lose. You can't go full ball.
I mean, hey, my hair grows quick, man. I don't know. I ain't hit that.
Mine grows quick too, but I mean, it looks pretty good. It looks a little thin though.
That's all right.
Looks better than JSU's I've been looking at all week, though. This big old terrible mop.
Yeah, he's got to get that thing trimmed down a little bit.
Who's that dude that made fun of our looks early in the year? We need that guy to get on JSU.
Oh, just one guy?
Oh, there's more than one, but there's one we remember.
Oh man, that's all right. You know what? When beauty hits you, as it does every time the show is on, it can be a little bit blinding. So I understand why he was a little bit uneasy with our looks. Hoop, how you doing on this Sunday, man?
Doing well. I don't know if I've ever seen you without a hat or something on your head. I was thinking about it the other day when I saw you on with the shaved head. I was like, man, I don't think I've ever seen Crain without a hat. It looks good, man. You look good. I do like the cut.
I appreciate it. I appreciate that. Take that, Big T. Hoop likes my cut.
Yeah.
Yeah. Big. The T stands for Big the Hater. It's all right. I get it. Tony, how you doing today?
Doing good. Last week of the season. Excited to. I'm sure we'll do playoff shows too, but last regular season. Hurrah here with you boys. It's been another fun year.
Yeah, I'm assuming we'll probably shift. We'll probably shift this to Saturday, right, next week? Because I know last year DraftKings did the 2-day, and FanDuel, of course, did Saturday, Sunday separate. But the big one on DraftKings was Saturday, Sunday. So
I'm a little bit hurt. I'm actually not on next Saturday. It's I think it's like JSU or somebody.
Oh, morning with schedule. I never look at the schedule ahead.
Yeah, there's a schedule. Yep.
No,
somebody will be on. If we're not on Saturday, we'll be on Sunday though. We'll be on one of the two for
sure. I think we might have a Sunday show. I think we might be on Sunday, but not Saturday. Yeah, that's all right. Hey, you know what? As long as I get to
whatever it
here
is
and hang out with the people. Yeah, good time, guys. Click that like button. We appreciate it. We're trying to get to I don't know what's the number. They didn't get to 500 because our feelings are hurt. What's the number today?
Man, yeah, that's a low number. 500. Week 18, though, people hate Week 18, including myself. So I'm anticipating
this does not seem like a Hoop approved week.
No, I'm assuming numbers will be a little lower. Just let's get to 1,100. How about that? 1,100.
All right, 1,100 likes. That's what we're shooting for the plays of the day, and that's no small fee. We're a little bit over 500 now. So go ahead and click that like button. Helps us out. And big to the 2A state champion. What is how you feeling about Week 18?
I'm feeling good, except for this FanDuel friggin' layout that I've been whining about all week, where you literally just can't function on it. Like if you want to go in and enter, it's like entering like a jigsaw puzzle or something. You can't even tell how many people are in it, how many entries. Like the whole thing is an absolute. Do they just not want people to play DFS on that site?
Yeah, I mean they took a bad product and made it even worse. And then I got blocked out on Friday night for like hours. It must have been when they were like transitioning. Like I tried logging in. I couldn't even log in. And then I couldn't get a hold of anyone to like unlock my account. I kept getting the verify you're human thing, you know? So I click on it. And then I clicked on it so many times, but they just said, all right, you're locked out.
That's when you just say, I'm done for the weekend. I'm shutting it down.
Yeah. Might have saved you money.
Probably saved me money.
Yeah.
Probably most likely saved me money.
Well, I know Hoop's already texted me this morning saying I got to be out of here by 11. So let's go ahead and jump into this slate because, Tony, you and I might have to carry the end of the show otherwise, and nobody wants that. We love the Hoopster here.
My son's basketball game this morning, so hopefully get a win on the hardwood. Undefeated squad, by the way, 4-0 in our first tournament. So
there you go.
Maybe one day we can produce a 2A
get the bad. Everybody was talking about my hair in that thing. I don't know why it looked like that, but I guarantee it was not a man bun or whatever people were saying.
It's okay. So Tony, I zoomed in on this because I was like, "What the fuck is that?"
It did look weird.
Well, it's like the background has the little flames on it, and the little flames make it look like you got a man bun. It's just
I mean, people were all over me about my man bun. I'm like, I did not have them. It was longer than it is now, and it was spiky, but it was not a man bun.
You guys, you've seen Big T for the last 10 years doing shows. Do you think Big T is a guy that has ever sported a fucking man bun? I can guarantee you the answer to that question.
Nobody had a man bun in 2002. That was not a thing.
It was the bowl cut back then, if anything. It was even a little past the bowl cut, but if anything, it was like the bowl cut.
I was a bowl cut guy.
Yeah, I was too. Not that far along, but a few years before that, I was for sure.
I either had like the gelled hair.
Gel hair was the move back then,
I had it exactly like this. There was no in between. Yeah. That was it.
Gel was cool. I liked gel back in the day.
Actually, high school basketball was the first year first time I ever shaved my head. And I looked at myself. I was like, "Wow, I'm never doing this again because it looks so bad." So I always have a little. That's why I always got a little something. I always got to cut on. I got to cut too. I just got to cut on. What day was that?
Look at you go.
That does look good. Look at that.
Yeah. It's tight on the side. My sideburns are shaved off for that fucker in the chat. Wasn't it E-Rock, right? Was that the guy's name?
I can't remember.
Maybe. Yeah, I gotta remember.
Something like that. Yeah, I said I had sideburns. I don't even think I can grow sideburns is the impressive part.
You got to get the beard. And speaking of the last time you saw your hair shaved, you said, I'm never doing that again. The last time I got rid of a beard, I had the exact same. So that ain't going to be happening out there for the fans anytime soon. All right, let's go ahead and hop into this slate because it's an ugly one. There are no giant totals on this slate. There are no plays that you really feel all that comfortable with. But we're going to try and help you guys out. We're going to try and say, maybe you can go with this guy. I've got some really weird dudes that I like that I'm going to get laughed off this show. But you know what? That's okay because
not as many laughable ones this week, though, Crain. You might be safe. There's anybody really is in play.
Yes.
Oh, no, because I'm chasing the exact same spot as last week.
I mean,
so we'll see what happens.
I don't remember who it is, but it's not good if you're worried already. If you're worried in week 18, then we got problems.
That's okay because picking on Brock Purdy didn't work last week. Maybe it'll work this week because eventually the dude's going to throw 3 picks.
You're playing the fucking D against the friggin' Niners again on week 18?
I'm not sure I'm going to do it, but I'm going to talk about it. All right, let's talk Patriots and Bills first. Hey, it's the last game.
Why? There's like us 3 are starting at quarterback this week. What are we playing a guy against the Niners for?
Hey, you know what?
Stop it. You are not.
I might play one of those guys that plays like us at quarterback too.
Well,
I might
fine, but don't play the freaking Arizona D against the Niners. Oh no! Don't start.
JJ Watt's last game.
Oh,
Get excited for JJ Watt's last game.
We have so many bad teams, and you're going against the Niners.
Tough start.
Oh man.
Oh, we got no chance getting. You better bump the number down, Crain.
All right, we're shooting for 7 likes.
We gotta go lower.
Okay, I'll tell you what. We're shooting for 1,100 likes, but if we only get to like 800, my play of the day
Each
is going to be
play
the Cardinals
Crain recommends we go down 100. Chat.
Yep. Oh, no.
For every 100 we miss, you get a new Crain quarterback play.
Yeah, you just wait. Because 2 games in, I'm going to give you one. But the first game, there's going to be a good quarterback play. It's the Patriots and the Bills, a 43.5-point total. The Bills, 8.5-point favorites. Obviously, the Bills coming off of the tragedy of Damar Hamlin. And this is a tough situation to know what they're going to do. Now that Damar is seemingly doing better, the Bills might have a bit of a monkey off their back. I kind of see the Bills just smashing the shit out of the Patriots here. Tony, are you with me?
Yeah, I mean, so on the surface, we talked a bunch about this, obviously, this week. I was at the game Monday night, and it's been the story of the league. And on the surface, yes, I agree. Buffalo, they need to win to get the 2. Get maybe the neutral field even next week if they win and get, or 2 weeks from now, get there. But, man, all week, so they didn't even really think about football until Thursday or Friday. Going against Belichick now, all that emotion. They're going to come out and play with a ton of emotion, right? Yeah, just talked to him yesterday on Facebook, all this stuff. So, yeah, on the surface, I definitely agree. And a lot of people, it's just I'm a little worried about Belichick. They need to get in the playoff. They need a win to get in, which I don't think they'll win. But I don't know. I feel like Belichick's good enough to scheme something up naturally. And now you only got a couple days of practice and all that emotion. It just feels like a trappy spot to me. So I'm probably going to be lower on the Bills than the field just because all the stuff. It was a long week. I don't care who you are. That was a tough week for a team. And I don't know, the prices aren't that great. And so this week, there's a ton of spots with nothing to play for. Both of these teams need to win. And I don't know. I'm a little uneasy. I'd rather pick spots where we're going against backups. I don't want to go against a Belichick defense on this week. So I'll probably actually be way lower on this game. I think it's low scoring. I do think the Bills probably find a way to win just because they're way better than the Patriots. But even like the teasers, I played the teasers all year in this spot. Bills -8, down to -2. I'm just a little uneasy because of all the unknowns with this week. So I'll let you guys talk up the Bills.
Well, Hoop, I'll let you, because now Tony has me worried. I love Stephon Diggs. I think he is way too cheap right now at 7.9. And if you read Tambo's tidbits, he was talking about just how, this is from Warren Sharp, how he just absolutely smashes man, and the Patriots play man at one of the highest rates of football. And Diggs at 7.9 in the spot where he's the clear alpha when they're going to score 3 or 4 touchdowns. I just don't really understand why you wouldn't want to play Diggs. I'm sure Hoop is going to recommend Gabe Davis for the 300th time this season. So Hoop, go right ahead.
Yeah, I'm playing myself some Gabe. Okay, so there's 3 like good offenses that are appealing on this slate, like the Bills, the Bengals, and the Eagles. I'd say all have something to play for. I'm somewhere in between. Give me all the Bills and what Tony said. I guess I'm kind of like in the middle a little bit. Like, man, like I definitely we'll get to that Bengals game and talk about that. I definitely, if you're deciding between one of those 2 teams from the Monday night situation, give me the Bengals for sure. I mean, they're the ones that potentially get screwed from a competitive edge standpoint, which I'm sure we'll talk a lot about when we get there. I think the Bills are coming out just looking to get a win here, and I don't think they want to like make a statement by any means. They're the ones that had to travel back and forth. Obviously, their teammate's the one that what got hurt. I think the Bengals probably easier for them to move on from that situation than the Bills, obviously. And people were hitting up Tony in the chat because he said Hamlin was talking with his teammates via Facebook. I don't know if this was like 15 years ago.
It's FaceTime. It's FaceTime, first of all, but I was just going to let that one
Mr.
go.
Mr. Apple himself.
The funny part about this is earlier in the week, I got a FaceTime call from somebody. It doesn't matter who. That's not a part of the story. And I kept saying,
I want to know who.
I kept saying, it doesn't matter what the story. I kept saying, why are you calling me on Facebook? Because I must have looked at it wrong. So it must be jacking with me.
It's stuck in your head. Yeah, it's in your head.
Oh, no.
I'll tell you, I never get FaceTime calls. You want to know the last person to call me on FaCetime?
Probably us.
It was you, Big T.
Yeah. It wasn't who? Who was with
it?
It was our other BFF.
It was Big T and Cheese. Just Big T was hammered, and Cheese was very clearly not at the live final.
Gotta love
That's probably
Cheese,
how you're with us now, because I was all excited to get you back on. And
that is true. That is the conversation that started this. That's true.
Cheese is man.
Yeah, Cheese is the man.
Cheese.
You always tell the story about how you called looking for a tennis code. That was actually what led to that, probably.
Yeah, it probably was.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Anyway, so sorry.
If you're building a bunch, for 150, give me Allen, give me Diggs, Gabe Davis. I don't know if you guys have heard me recommend Gabe Davis this season, but I'm in on him. Isaiah McKenzie, Dawson Knox. The problem with the pass catchers, though, is that, man, he does tend to spread it out a little bit now and get all these guys a little bit involved. Obviously, Diggs is the top dog.
Them all involved except our boy Gabe.
Except
the only one that never gets involved for us.
Except the one that I have the highest ownership on every
me too. I've been with you the whole time. He never gets there for us.
He's going to reward us in the playoffs, I have a feeling. In the playoffs, Gabe is going to reward us.
And the cheaper he gets, the more I want to play him every time.
God, we're going to have like 3 more weeks of this Gabe talk until the Chiefs knock him out.
It's never ending. I'm good with these guys. Patriots side, I'm not really going to play any Patriots. Hunter Henry. Jonnu Smith out. Hunter Henry, cheap tight end.
All right. I don't mind Hunter Henry at 3-3. All right, let's talk Jets and Dolphins. 37.5-point total. The Dolphins, 3.5-point favorites at home. Everybody wants to play the Jets defense. Some people want to play the Dolphins defense. Some people will play Garrett Wilson. But I got a but for you guys.
Ooh.
You remember how I said that I might play a cheap quarterback?
I swear to God, if you say Joe Flacco.
No,
it is not Joe Flacco.
Thank God.
We
would have been down to 900 likes already to get the plays.
We're going to have to start asking people to dislike the video so we can get the plays of the day.
I don't think Skylar Thompson at 4.8 is the craziest play on the entire slate. The guy, he's got some legs. He's got some rushing upside. We saw that in college. He's only 4.8. And anytime you can pay 4.8 for a quarterback, look, if he throws for 202, which isn't out of the realm of possibilities at all, rushes for 30 yards or so, I think he's perfectly fine. And I actually like Tyreek Hill a ton today because we get these young quarterbacks that aren't great. They tend to focus on one guy. And Miami needs this win, right? So what are they going to do? They're going to get the ball in the hands of their best player. And Tyreek Hill is that guy. So at 8-6, nobody is freaking playing Tyreek Hill. Nobody's going to be playing him. Tony, am I insane?
Actually, with you. I think
baby, come on.
I was really worried about Flacco. I mean, that was going to be disaster if you brought him up. But Miami, a lot of the situations always week 18. I mean, not breaking ground with info, but I like to play teams that have more to play for when the other team necessarily doesn't, and that's the case here. Dolphins need to win. They need Patriots to lose. It's that simple, I believe. So. I don't know. The Jets don't have anything to play for. They're playing freaking Joe Flacco, who we've seen Matt Ryan. We've seen Nick Foles this year. We know how this is going to go. It's not going to go well for the Jets. And I love betting Miami today. I love everything about them. And the nice part about what Crane's saying, you can get a quarter. He is terrible. I'll clarify first. He's terrible, Skyler.
Like, do you remember playing this guy in college?
Yeah, he was terrible in college, too.
We have
Awful.
to play this guy. He sucks.
Yeah. But to circle back to he's a 4,800 price point with Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle at receiver in a must-win spot. You could even play both of them in a way when your quarterback's 4,800, and neither one of them is going to get any ownership. I mean, at all. So you're going to get a three-man stack. The Jets could quit too. Like if Flacco really gets bad. I don't know. I like Miami a decent amount today. And again, this week, you're going to have a lot of weird, ugly plays for sure because there's tricky spots and teams will quit. Make no mistake about it. There will be some big blowouts today. I promise you. There'll be a couple teams win by 30, 40 points today. You want to stack those situations. And like Hoop does a ton, I don't think you need as many run backs on a week like this. It's not a normal week because if it snowballs, you want to be a part of that snowballing, and I really think this could be one. So you could play Skyler, Tyreek, Skyler, Waddle, both of them, and the D. The Dolphins' D is definitely my favorite D against Flacco. I mean, Flacco is horrendous. He's old. He can't move. I mean, I don't know why everyone wouldn't play the Dolphins' D this week. So I'm all aboard Miami with Crain. We'll let Hoop make fun of us for playing Skylar Thompson.
Hoop is absolutely going to make fun of us.
He looks pretty interested to me. I think he's interested.
Okay. So
I think we might make it a threesome here. The three best friends.
So hold on, because if I was just looking at facial tells, I'd say like Hoop might do this. But if I know Hoop, there ain't no freaking way. But he just nodded when I said I might do this. Oh my God, Hoop! Are you on Skylar with us?
I liked everything you guys said. Up until the point where you said you're playing Skylar Thompson. I like the Dolphins. I like the Dolphins to crush here. I like the Tyreek play because I don't think many people go there. People will go to Diggs. People will go to Jamar Chase over Tyreek. I like that play. I'm cool with some Waddle, but we have all the value in the world. And we have some high-end quarterbacks that I think kind of just go off today. I don't think Tyler Scott, whatever.
Cheeto's got 70% Flacco.
What'd you say?
Cheeto's got 70% Flacco.
No,
he says in the chat.
He's got 70% Flacco and 30% Hope.
No, he's
30% Hope.
He's going to reconsider. Yeah, I mean, I just think two of these big quarterbacks probably just like go off. So I'll play Tyreek, Waddle, not going 3 for 3 on the Skylar Thompson play though. Unfortunately, boys, I don't think we need it this week. What about Garrett Wilson? You guys like Garrett Wilson? The thing that scares me, I think, which is the most important part about this game, is the fact I hate these teams that just got eliminated the week before. So the Jets, obviously, terrible run out here down the stretch. They just got eliminated last week. I could see this being just one of those spots where they're just like, whatever happens, happens.
Yeah. See, that's kind of how I feel too. Like, and people are going to play this Jets defense, and I mean, defense is such an emotional spot. Like, I don't know. I get wanting to play against Skylar Thompson, but if I was going to play a defense in this game, it would be the Miami. They're only $400 more. Like, what?
Yeah,
and they're going to be a fraction of the other. I mean, everybody's playing the Jets, right?
Yeah, the Jets defense is like popping for some, which I don't get. Like they're if you go to projections, they're like way up there. Like I don't know, they just got eliminated.
This is the way projections don't matter though. This is they can't project for the unknowns, like Hoop said, where they just got eliminated last week. How much investment do they have in this game? These teams have to. Once you get eliminated, you got to be like, okay, we're 1 week away from vacation. Just like when you're in that last week of school growing up, you're like, hey, last week, let's get out of here. Let's get to the summer. Some teams don't get me wrong. Some teams do play hard. So some will play hard today, but some will quit too. Like, make no mistake about it. You gotta do a little guesswork. Why in the hell would you don't play any defenses today against a team that needs to win? Like, why? Why? It doesn't make sense. And then if they're chalky, it makes even less sense to me.
Yeah. And look, it's not like that this team was – I mean, they've just been beaten down so much lately. Like, they started out so good, and they've lost like 6 straight or something like that. So, I mean, at some point, you've just been having your ass kicked for so long, you just quit. And today seems like the perfect time to quit since they are eliminated. And Hoop's going to be eliminated when he doesn't play Skylar. It's funny, like I'm not saying I'm for sure. I'm not saying I'm for sure playing him, but like I have 2
The reasons to play him though aren't him. It's that you can play 2 of the best receivers in football against a team that could quit and get it all together for a cheap price.
Dude, you can go 3 receivers like where Diggs is your cheapest receiver if you do that.
Yeah.
Like, that is a really attractive build.
And there's no high totals today. I mean, even I do like a few of the spots we'll get to, but I mean, you need to get a little creative this week on some teams.
Get weird. Yeah. Oh, week 18, man. Get as weird as you can. All right. Let's talk Vikings at Bears, a 42.5-point total. The Vikings 7-point favorites on the road. And we're still, I don't think we're going to get news because the Vikings don't really have anything to play for. We don't know if they're going to be playing their starters, resting their starters. They came out and said they could rest their starters. To me, Justin Jefferson is unplayable right now at 9-1. Like, if we don't know if he's going to play the full game, I'm not messing with it. The same for Dalvin Cook. Tony, I know you've been on Justin Jefferson all season. Is this finally the week you have to jump off?
I mean, it's all guesswork this week, and I'm just going with educated guesses that what I think happens. I don't see why Minnesota would go all out in this game when they're the 3 seed right now, and the Eagles and the Niners, unless you talk to Crain, who hates Brock Purdy, are going to roll today. They're both 2 touchdown favorites, and they both need to win for the 1 seeds, and they both play in the afternoon, if I'm correct, right? Well, yeah. So I just don't – I mean, for one, they're both definitely not losing. In a million years are both of them losing. Neither one of them's losing, let's be honest. They're both winning the game today. So what are we doing? We're not moving up. We're in Chicago, which is a shitty field. I just don't see why. I'm not saying they're not going to like start these guys because they can play a little, but I just don't think they go all out. So to make this slate easy, there's no way I'm playing guys in spots where I think they could sit. There's no reason to. So no Jefferson for me under any circumstances. And honestly, no Bears. This game is just clear cut fade for me.
I only have one play in this game, and I'll give it after I hear what Hoop thinks, because Hoop, I know, Jefferson, he's been one of the safest guys all season. I can't really do it, though. Do you have any interest in this game at all?
No, I basically agree with everything. I mean, there was some talk. What does Jefferson need, like 190 yards or something for the record? Like, are they going to risk, throwing Jefferson the ball like 18 times, risk the injury? Vikings have high hopes this year. They're 12-4. I mean, everyone knows they're a fraudulent team, but the Vikings don't think they're a fraudulent team, so they can't risk the injury this week facing this Bears team. Nothing to gain to play it out here. And in terms of the defenses, give me. I mean, I think the Eagles defense in a phenomenal spot. 49ers, their motivation the only way they get the 1 seed is if the Eagles lose. Eagles are 14-point, or what is it, 16 now? 16-point favorites at home. So I can't mess with the Vikings here or the Bears, obviously.
I mean, the Vikings can't get by the Niners, though. So, I mean, they need both of them to lose to get the
correct.
win.
Yeah, they have nothing. I mean, there's like nothing. What can they could drop to the 3 seed. Whip-de-doo. It doesn't change anything.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to give you guys 2 names because the chat just brought another one up that I thought was a little interesting. First off, and this is the chat's name, Alexander Madison. 5-1. We talk about these running backs. If they rest Dalvin Cook at all, I think Madison is a little interesting. Really quick, yay or nay from you guys?
It's week 18. I mean, and there's going to be random dudes that go off, and it's hard to predict what's going to happen. There's a chance Dalvin Cook doesn't get a carry today. I mean, that's in the realm of possibilities. I mean, that is a possible outcome today. So any plays like that, yes, I mean, for sure. Will I play him? No. You guys know I'm too big of a pussy to make that sort of play, but it doesn't make sense. Yes.
Tony, any interest in Madison for you?
Definitely not, but I agree with what Hoop said. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if Cook plays one series or no series in Madison, but they could go even deeper, though, is what I just don't see it. Like, I want to play some teams with motivation. Even if they do play him a lot of the game, doesn't mean he's going to do good. They're going to run generic plays. They're not going to go all out, in my opinion. So, I mean, no way for me. Even if they came out and sat Cook, which would make Madison, like, project good, I still wouldn't play him. So I just don't – I don't like the spot.
Another guy I have a little interested in, KJ Osborne. He's 4.7. He's going to be involved either way. If this team decides to play all out, he's going to see snaps. If this team decides to rest Jefferson and Thielen, he's going to be the number one wide receiver. And at 4.7, I do have a little interest in KJ Osborne. He's the kind of receiver that he could go for 8 for 100 and at like 0.5%. I don't think that he's the craziest guy. Tony, it was so bad though. Tony actually left. You see this?
Yeah, the game's so bad he's gone.
Yeah,
off stage.
and I don't even have to ask Coop about KJ Osborne because I know there's not a shot in hell he wants to play KJ.
I mean, I've played him actually a lot this season because I think he's actually good. Like, I mean, when he gets targets, like he typically, I don't know the catch rate, but it seems like he catches a lot of the balls thrown to him, and he looks athletic and he can make moves. But if they decide to blow out and rest all their starters, like, he's a part of their normal game plan. So that's somewhat, risky to me. But again, we'll see.
Yeah, Jalen Reagor would be another one, but I don't think I'm going to be going that deep. All right, let's talk Ravens at Bengals. 39.5-point total. The Bengals 9.5-point favorites at home. And Tony, I'm just going to turn it over to you, man. Bengals. Look, the whole situation sucks, but the Bengals got screwed. Floor is yours.
I mean, and I don't know how anyone can really deny it, even the NFL. Like, they got a raw deal. They did the right thing Monday night. Obviously, no one's disagreeing with that. I don't think we need to even go down that avenue. But they did all that good stuff. And what do they get rewarded with? They come out and say the Bengals win the division, which is fine. That's what they should do. Because they're going to – I mean, first, if they would have beat Buffalo, they would have had a chance at the 1 or 2 seed, which Kansas City won, so the 1 would have been out of there anyways. But all of a sudden, if Baltimore beats them today, then they have to flip a coin to get home field. And then on top of it, the Bengals would get the harder schedule next year because they technically won the division. If you're going to flip the coin, which is stupid anyways, Baltimore better be the division winner and get the better schedule next year. Could you imagine the 3 seed of the AFC having to go on the road the first week when they could have had a chance at the 1 or 2 seed? And then you make them play a harder schedule? It's just clear. It doesn't even make sense. It's just clearly the NFL on Baltimore's side. I agree with them. But the good thing is we get this team that they're mad. I mean, even the coach, Zach Taylor, came out with some quotes like saying it's bullshit. And, I mean, everything I've heard makes me think they're laying the wood today. I wouldn't be surprised if Baltimore sits their guys on top of it because, Baltimore knows that if they win, they can flip a coin. But what happens when they go all out, win, and then lose the coin flip still? and then next week it's still in Cincinnati. So I don't know. I think Cincinnati's a great spot. Jamar Chase, 8,400. I'm playing him over all of those other. Crane's example with the Miami, I would play Chase instead of Diggs, and I just think Chase smashes today. I'm a tiny bit worried at T, but you do have that narrative. Obviously, T was involved in the incident. He had to have a couple tough days like the Buffalo guys. How does he react? Does he come out and play hard and just his interviews did seem like he's feeling good now that everything, all good news back so far. So I don't know. I love Cincinnati, and this is another spot with just definitely no run backs. I mean, Burrow with Chase, Burrow with T, with Boyd, Hurst. I like all of Cincy. I think they score a ton of points today, and I think they bury them. But it does have a lot of the same stuff as Hoop talked about with Buffalo. If they're up 21-3 in the second half, they're not going to push it up either. They're not. I mean, I know they're not. These teams are going to play again next week. So they're not going to go out there and embarrass them. That's my one concern, which kind of goes with what Hoop said in the first game. If it stays, I mean, maybe I'm talking myself out of it a little bit.
It sounds like you are.
Because there's just no way. Say Baltimore does sit their guys. Say Cincinnati does score early. There's just no way they don't run the ball in the second half. There's no way. These teams are playing again next week. So I don't know. I do like it. Maybe it's a perfect example of what Hoop said. You got some teams. Maybe you play it on a couple, fade it on the rest. It's a lot of how Week 18 is. We just don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can
and by the
apply
way,
now.
go
I
ahead.
made that point with the Bills, but you can apply that to basically every team that has something to play for today, for the most part. So you can't be too picky with the spots. So now I'm talking back on what I said with the Bills, but I just think, man, these Bengals are going to come out and make a statement from the beginning. If you get 3 quarters from a good offense today, that's probably good enough on this slate. And I think, I'm not a big narrative guy, but
Quarters. I might need 6 quarters from Thompson. I just want to point that out.
That's not the AirPods, Hoop.
It's not the AirPods?
That's not the AirPods, Hoop.
Okay,
That's
okay.
the media com, baby.
The media
That's
comp
media.
strikes again, yeah.
Internet.
I got the crack. You got the crackling going.
I got
I
the
got
crackle. That's got to be the media com.
It's
It
not
sounds like
the
you got
it's not the
popcorn.
media.
You got popcorn in the microwave over there?
No,
First time
It
ever
ain't-
he's defended.
it's
He's like,
not
that
me.
is not media
It's not
com.
me. I am. Oh,
The only way is
It's
you
not
guys
me.
got to mute and test it out. Mute
All
one
right,
at
I'll
a
mute
time and
first.
keep going.
Stop. I'm
There it is, Crain. The media com, baby.
Big T mute for a second. Big T's got to
myself.
mute now.
I'm
just to
gonna
rule
mute.
him
I'm
out.
Mute it up. Mute it up. Let's let Hoop talk.
Yep.
Yeah,
sad
Crain.
scene.
Oh, the media
Might be
com.
the
I hate to
microphone or
see
it might be the microphone or something.
Well, it could be the microphone,
Oh, my
but
goodness.
it's something
All right.
on that end in that corner.
Just disconnect your microphone or something and get it back going here. I'm with you though on the Bengal stuff. I mean, man, like talk about wanting to come out and make a statement. They absolutely have to. If the coach didn't come out and make the statements, basically saying, hey, we're getting fucked. The players have made the same statements. They're going to want to, make a prove a point here. Now, could they be up 28-3 in, the second half? They say, all right, Joe Mixon, P. Ryan, get some work in. Yeah, but again, it's week 18. We can't be too picky. We're going to have to spend our salary some way. And if I'm spending my salary at wide receiver, I want it to be on Jamar Chase today. Great spot. Joe Burrow, I think you're in. Oh, much better. Yeah.
I mean,
Popcorn-
you know
popcorn's
what I
done.
did? I'm in the program and I got my little microphone here and I forgot to turn it on. So it was on, but it wasn't on in the settings. So I owe everybody an apology because I really thought I was so
you were
confident that
defending
was
yourself.
Hoop.
I'll give
I
it to
really thought it was Hooper. It was Big T, and I'm sitting here. I'm not even kidding. I'm sitting here like, yeah, it's not me this
I
time.
seen Hoop going
Doing
like
all
this
right.
with his
Yeah, I thought
it was Hoop. I thought it was Hoop.
I've had AirPod issues, so I'm thinking these fuckers are going out on me again. No, anytime you're on a show with Crain and their technical difficulties, you know who you can blame.
Dude, it's amazing. They've had me producing these shows lately, and somehow I haven't fucked it up. Like it's incredible. They're like, okay, we need you to do this and this and this. I'm like, you might want to find somebody else to do that. But here we are.
Anyways, short, I'm in on the Bengals in a big way today.
All right, well, let's see if you're in on the next game. My guess is that you aren't. It's a 40.5-point total between the Bucs and the Falcons. Atlanta 4.5-point favorites here. Hoop, I'm going to kick it off with you here, man. This is I don't know, man. I maybe as a filler, but I don't really like any of these guys.
Definitely not the Bucs. I mean, another team that I don't care what the quotes are. I just can't. They're not rolling out, Tom Brady, Godwin, Evans for any substantial amount of time. Maybe they get a couple series and then call it quits. Like they have literally nothing to play for, and they have a lot of old guys, a lot of guys that have suffered pretty big injuries recently. No Bucs. Falcons defense. I'm definitely going with Falcons defense. Tyler Algier, I think a great play. I mean, they're obviously committed to these young guys now, which is the right thing to do down the stretch when you get eliminated from the playoffs. Algier getting 20 carries a week. That is very valuable week 18. Drake London, haven't played a ton of him this season. He's only 4.9K this week, so I have some interest in him. And the nice thing about this one, you get it in a dome too. So Algier, London, Falcons D, I think all really good plays here on the slate.
Oh, the chat says Crain looks like he has an ISIS audition after the show. That's a new one. All right, let's talk. I don't even know how to respond to that. By the way, Carlton Davis, he's out for the Bucs. If you care about that, for Drake London, so maybe a small bump up. Tony, you doing anything with this game?
Yeah, I mean, I put it similar to the Miami spot in a way where I think Tampa sits everyone, like Hoop said, and we get the quarterback 4,900 Ritter. London's looked way better since they brought him in. You can play a quarterback and a receiver that are both cheap and I think offer you a little upside against Tampa, who literally could just pack it in today. I love Atlanta, the side. I mean, Atlanta is what, -4 they were earlier? Well, what are they now?
Yeah, still
-4
right
still,
in that
4.5.
range.
I just think they roll. I don't see why Tampa would play anybody. And we'll be wrong about some of these spots today. Make no mistake, some of these donkey teams will just play their guys like idiots. We've seen it last year with Dallas. It happens every year, but we're just going to make guesses and we're going to go with it. I think Tampa sits guys. They're older now. And if they do sit guys, I think Ritter in London is a perfectly reasonable. You can even put Algier with them. And I don't usually like go quarterback, running back, receiver. But, I mean, Atlanta could score. They're at home, perfect weather in the dome, obviously. I mean, they could score 30-something points today at no ownership, really. Actually, Algiers going to – two of them look like they're getting ownership, actually, so I didn't realize that. London might get a little – but they should.
Yeah.
I think they're good play. Definitely no one's playing Ritter, though. So if you put him with those guys, I like it a little bit. So I'm actually on Atlanta.
Okay,
Definitely
so
not Rashad White. I mean, why are we playing Rashad White, Tyler?
I don't know. Like, he's an important part of their rotation.
Yeah.
Like, do we like? If anything, if you want to get weird in that spot, play Keyshawn Vaughn at 4.
Definitely. Like Keyshawn Vaughn is a way better play than Rashad White, and he's cheaper.
Yeah. And I'm not saying I'm going to play either of them, but I would rather play Keyshawn John.
He would be the one Tampa guy for sure, though, because he's clearly the third string running back.
I was trying to figure out what wide receiver I would play, and all these guys are freaking ancient. Like Evans, Godwin, Julio, Russell
Fairman
Gage,
would be the play, but why? I mean, why?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not going to mess with that. I actually kind of like your Ritter call. Like, I hadn't really considered.
He'll run too. Like,
yeah,
I don't know. He seems like a good play to me.
Like, he's willing to chuck it down the field, which I always like in a quarterback in a dome, as you said. Tampa Bay.
Atlanta's going to play hard too, right? Like, they're one of the teams. I know they're a younger team. They want to see this kid.
I mean, have we really reached the point where we're recommending quarterbacks that haven't even hit double digits in terms of fantasy points in his career?
All right,
the good guys.
All right,
Skyler
or Ritter? That's the real question today.
You're a hometown QB.
You guys talked me out of it. I can't play one half of Burrow over 2/2 of Ritter.
No, don't come on, man. Don't.
You actually might want 1/2 of Burrow over 2/2 of Ritter. That's
the thing. Full disclosure, I bet a big number on Cincy yesterday. I feel great about them, but I'm worried that they play again next week.
They're going to rest their dudes at Ravens, so I mean.
And they play next week. I'm worried about that part. Like, if they're up 21-3, they are not going to keep chucking. There's no scenario. They're not going to rub it in when they play them next week.
Gosh, don't talk me out of it, too. Like, I was excited to be arm in arm.
Bet them with me. We just bet it.
Bengals.
We bet it big, and that's where we get our money.
Oh, I got to play them.
Because if the game's close, make no mistake about it. If Baltimore keeps it close, Cincy will crush. So I'm just worried about Baltimore not showing up at all. And if it's 21-3, we're dead in DFS.
Yeah. Tony, Ritter or Skylar Thompson?
I mean, the part I like better about Skylar is just that you can play Tyreek with him. And
you play Tyreek on both.
Well, true. I guess I might like Ritter just because it's at home in a dome. They're very similar to me, though. I'll say.
I think it's a coin flip. Which, if I'm playing, I don't know. I might end up playing both London and Tyreek. So I really might just have to flip a coin. All right, let's move on to the Panthers at the Saints. A 41.5 point total. The Saints 3.5 point favorites at home. And oddly, we have chalk in this game. Olave is going to get some ownership. Rashid Shaheed's going to get some ownership. I don't know how much the Panthers are going to be owned. Hoop, what do you think about this Saints chalk? Because it's kind of weird chalk to me.
Yeah. Shaheed, I think he's just like good. He's a guy that you watch the games and he's just like open always. Yeah. Like, I don't know what it is, if it's him, if it's the defense not paying attention to him, but he's just like always open. He looks good. 4.2K in a dome again. Another spot in a dome here. I'm fine with him at 4.2K. He's been really, consistent. You know, the targets have been there, the catches have been there. He's one of those guys that seems like when he gets a target, he converts it into a catch. So
Yeah.
I'm interested in him at 4-2. I like him more than Olave. I mean, I'm still fine with Olave. He'll be in my player pool. 6.2K, I think, is a good price tag for him as well. Definitely like Shaheed more. The savings is obviously pretty substantial between those two. I'll play both of them. Not going to be messing with Alvin Kamara or the tight ends. Then on the Panthers side, I don't think I'm going to play anyone on the Panthers side. It's just going to be Olave and Shaheed for me on the Saints.
Yeah, the Panthers are DJ Moore or nothing for me.
DJ Moore. I'm fine with him. Yeah, I'm fine playing him.
Terrence Marshall, people like him, and I think it's fine. I just don't think it's the slate for Terrence Marshall. Tony, what are we doing in this spot?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people are on New Orleans. You got another 4,800 price point, too, with Dalton at quarterback against Carolina. I don't like this spot as much, though, especially with, some of these ownership. Shaheed and Olave are actually going to catch some ownership. I think they're okay plays. I don't mind it, but I don't feel great about this spot. I don't think we see a ton of points. So, yeah, those guys are okay, but I'm not feeling as good about it.
Yeah, I don't know. It just feels like a weird chalk spot. Like everybody's like in a dome, but I don't know.
Why
it's
is it like a chalk spot? Like what?
I don't
what
because there are no good totals, and people are like, well, it's a dome, so it might chew out. Meanwhile, it has the same Vegas total as some other spots that are outside.
It's the same total, though. Exactly.
Yeah, they're like people are just double counting, and
I think just lack. I think it's honestly lack of plays. I mean, there's just not standout plays, so you start digging a little deeper when there's not standout plays. I mean, you look at the slate. I mean, how many plays do you look at them and say, man, this is a good standout spend? Like, there's just not many options. So, people start digging, I guess, a little deeper.
Yeah, I don't know. I think Shaheed is fine. Like, I'm not paying 6.2 for Olave when I can get some guys I like more in that same range. So, I don't know, it's just a weird chalk spot for me. And those spots I'm always willing to fade. Another chalk spot is in our next game. And it's not a spot I'm going to be willing to fade. It's a 40.5 point total. Pittsburgh 2.5 point favorites at home. And Tony, we've just been playing running backs against the Browns all season. It has been working out all season. Now you get a running back in Najee Harris. That's probably going to get 20 carries. He's 6'1". I don't think it's too prohibitive this week. I'm playing Najee Harris. Are you?
Maybe the weirdest spread of the week for me is this one. Pittsburgh's been really good for like 2 months. By really good, I mean way better than we thought they would be. They've won, I think, 6 out of 7 games or 5 out of 6, whatever it is now. And you play a Cleveland team that has sucked all year, not playing for anything. Pittsburgh can still get in the playoffs if a few things happen. I think what do they need? They need Patriots obviously to lose and Dolphins to probably lose. But
those are both doable.
Both are doable, exactly. Yeah. So these guys are definitely going to play hard. I literally just don't understand why they're a 2.5 point favorite at home versus Cleveland. Cleveland has been terrible, so I don't get it. Either it's really trappy or really easy. I'm betting Pittsburgh and just hoping it's really easy. I could be wrong though. I'm just throwing it out there that it looks very, very trappy, but I've gotten better at just betting some of these spots. I'm definitely betting Pittsburgh, so I have to like Najee. I'm with you for sure. I do worry a little bit about Warren. Keep stealing a little work here and there, but Najee, 6,100. We have unlimited salary this week. Like we just said, it's tough to find plays you feel good about. Pittsburgh needs to win. They're going to play through Najee. I agree. I'm in there with you. I don't like anything else, though, just him.
No, he's the only guy in this game I like. I saw some talk in the chat about Amari Cooper earlier, and that's just – I don't know. I just don't want to mess with any of these Browns dudes. I just don't think it's the slate to do that. I'm paying way up at wide receiver. So this like middle range, I'm probably not messing around with Hoop. I assume you like Najee, and I assume you're going to print with us.
Yeah, I'm currently joining Big T and betting the Steelers. I kind of overlooked that one, and it makes a ton of sense. I mean, it makes a ton of sense. It does seem weird, though. I'm not going to lie. Definitely seems weird. So I'm with you guys.
It could just be honestly that Pittsburgh still just sucks. But
yeah, but it's like
that's my only worry. They can't score either.
Well, yeah, that part's definitely true. But man, the motivation's certainly on their side. Like, there's no denying that. Like, they absolutely need to win. The Browns suck. Yeah, I don't know. I think it makes sense. But Najee, I think, is a great play. I mean, you got a guy that in a must-win situation, he's back to that big workload that we like. 20 carries plus, you can bank on in a close game. He gets some targets as well. I think he's a really, really strong option on the slate. I mean, you know what you're getting. There's not many spots where you can say you know what you're getting from a player. Today, Najee Harris, you know what you're getting. It was only 6.1K at home, must win. I'm in on him in a big way, and agree with you guys. It's pretty much it though from this game.
Yeah, and I don't mind correlating with the Steelers' defense either. Like it's just not a defense that a lot of people are going to go to. And they have all kinds of upside against Deshaun Watson, who's, let's be honest, has just been freaking
I like this
terrible.
defensive play.
Yeah. All right. Houston at Indianapolis, because we are contractually obligated to talk about this. 37.5 point total. Indianapolis, 3-point favorites. Hoop, do you like anything here?
No, nothing at all. I mean, I'm just two just dead teams, two awful teams. I mean, the defenses, I'm fine with playing the defenses here for sure. If I'm playing anything at all, maybe Pittman. But man, I just no. This game it's going to be a cross off for me.
The chat wants us to like Zach Moss. If you like 8 points, you should play Zach Moss.
They're going to use all these guys, right? Like, why would they not? Like, why are they going to feature Zach Moss here? Like, I don't see it.
Yeah, you got Deion Jackson there. You have former Rams great Jake Funk. Like, it's just. I don't know. I don't want to mess with it. And the same with the Texans. Like I know Royce Freeman, I always say I had a buddy text me some bad play, and he texted me Royce Freeman today. So you take that for what you will. But Dario Ogunbowale is going to get some carries. Rex Burkhead might get some work. Tony, like, are you messing with anybody in this game?
So, yeah, we've agreed on a lot. I am going to take my own stance here that Zach Moss is one of the best plays. The last 3 weeks, 24 carries.
Look at Hoop's eyes. Did you see Hoop's eyes? He was like,
so listen, he got 15 carries in a blowout loss. Houston needs to lose for the number 1 pick of the draft. Indy's going to pound the ball with Saturday. Looks like a total smash spot to me at 5,200. Houston, no one has more incentive to lose today than Houston. Indy's like one of my favorite bets of the day, too. They're only – what is it right now? I already bet it, but they're -3 at home versus a team that needs to lose. Indy sucks, but they've at least played hard most of these weeks, and looks like a smash spot to me. So I'm definitely betting Indy. I'm playing Zach Moss, and I'm going to the winner's circle with both of them.
All right. I just am afraid that Zach Moss isn't going to get all the work.
The backup was fighting with the freaking coach. Like, they're not giving work to that other dude. They hate that guy.
All right. Deion Jackson, they shouldn't hate him. He was playing good earlier in the year.
Yeah, but he was fighting with Saturday. He called him a moron. Like, he's not going to play him.
Okay, he's not wrong.
Well, that's not the point, though. The guy's the coach. He doesn't care if he's wrong. He's not going to play a dude that's out there calling him a moron. Zach Moss got 15 carries in a 30-point loss. What's going to happen when he's winning?
I don't know. I just don't even want him. I don't want to mess with it. He had 24 carries and had 8 fantasy points 3 games ago.
He also wasn't playing Houston, who wants to lose.
He was playing Minnesota.
He's going to crush.
He was
There's
playing
one
Minnesota.
play that is going to crush that you guys need to add. It's him.
All right, I will consider Zach Moss. I'm single lineup Crain today. So
it's ugly, but it's week 18, baby. We got to get a little creative week 18.
Well, a little creative in our next game we could get as well. It's a 40.5 point total between Dallas and Washington. By the way, click the like button. We're trying to get to 1,100 likes, so go ahead and click that. Hoop, how are we doing on the likes?
Oh, let's circle. Oh man, yeah, the plays of the day are not very likely today. And you know what? It is week 18. It's those tough weeks to get motivated. Just get us a reasonable number. How about that? Just a reasonable number. At the end of the day, we can come and look at it and say, you know what? The chat showed up for us. Right now, the chat did not show up for us.
Yeah, we got the Houston. What?
Yeah, we only have like 200 personal likes. Like there's 5 something to start this. We're at like 750.
Okay, guys.
Yeah,
guys, look. Think about this from a football standpoint. Okay, you guys want that motivation. We get motivated by likes. You don't want us to give the Houston Texans level of motivation. You don't want us to show up with the Minnesota Vikings level of motivation. You want us to show up with the Miami freaking Dolphins level of motivation. You want us to show up with the Bengals level of motivation. Click the damn like button. Help us out over here at Run Pure Sports. We appreciate it. All right, Dallas at Washington.
Nothing I like more before you go to this next game. When someone in the chat's like making fun of someone else and they're just wrong. Like, so the dude's making fun of Aaron Rodgers talk. Like, he's not even on the mains. He is on the FanDuel slate, Al Money. So stop making fun of people, because on FanDuel, that's the only high total of the day with some meaning. So you might want to not make fun of people if they're talking about reasonable stuff there, Al Money.
Here, you want to know my super hot NFC contrarian take?
Yes.
Packers going to the Super Bowl.
I mean, that's not that contrarian.
The NFC is so bad. They're like, who's the best team? Who's the best team in the NFC? I mean, for me
we all
personally,
like
it's
the Niners, the
49ers.
best, sure.
Yeah, I mean, these other teams are shit.
Aaron Rodgers with that team, I would not be in the least bit stunned. They're on a roll right now, too.
Yeah. I'm not sure if they can beat like KC or Buffalo in the Super Bowl, but
no.
They're like 30 to they're like 30 to 1 to win the
team
Super
that can
Bowl.
win the Super Bowl is the Niners, I think.
Yep.
Brock Purdy is not winning the Super Bowl.
I'm going to love it when he shoves it up your ass. I'm sitting with a Brock Purdy jersey with a Super Bowl patch on it.
Did you think they could win it with Garoppolo, though, is the question. Did you think like they could win with Garoppolo at quarterback?
Yes.
Purdy is just as Purdy might be probably better.
Okay, here's the thing though. Okay, Garoppolo was in what, like his 4th, 5th year? Like 7th round rookie quarterbacks don't go win the freaking Super Bowl. They always have one terrible game in them that fucks the whole thing up.
Very possible, but NFC is very weak. These teams are very fraudulent.
I get it, but he can't win the Super Bowl. He can't beat those AFC teams. Are not fraudulent.
The Niners are all about game management, though. He's not going to have to like go insane to win this thing.
I'm just saying he just needs one bad game, and guys with that pedigree always have that one bad game. Always. And now he's not going to get to play the Raiders or the Cardinals of the world in the playoffs. That ain't happening. He might get to play the Vikings of the world, which is close, but he ain't going to be playing those cupcakes. So Purdy, it's going to be pretty rough for you guys when he gets back.
I do like that. I do like that. The Tambo-esque little statement.
I'm inspired by Tambo, man. All right, Dallas at Washington. I've been trying to get to this game for 5 minutes. 40.5 point total. The Cowboys 7.5 point favorites. And let's talk about Jonathan Williams really quick, because he's a home starting running back. He should get all the work at 4.3K, 7.5 point dog. But again, he's going to get all the work, and we know that getting all the work at running back, that's all we really care about a lot of the time. Tony, are you on Jonathan Williams this week?
I don't know about that. Again, I just don't want to take guys from teams that I don't know. The price is nice. I'll give you that. 4,300. I don't know. I struggle with it. Dallas is another team Dallas might be the number one team I'm worried about this week, where I'm just scarred from last year, the last week of the season, where they played these donkeys, not needing to do anything. I mean, Philly is not freaking losing today. So why would Dallas play their guys the whole game? If you told me Dallas is going to sit these guys, I would for sure be with you. I'm just worried McCarthy's a freaking idiot and he plays these guys the whole game. Because if he plays them the whole game, I definitely don't like Jonathan Williams. But if we make an educated guess and these guys do sit, then I would like him. So it's more guesswork like all of week 18. You got to make your decisions. I like Dotson for Washington. He's a young guy. He's a stud. I just think he's cheap. And no matter what Washington's going to try to throw, even if Dallas plays their guys, I think Dotson could crush because of big playability. Dallas likes to gamble. So you got Sam Howell, young guy at quarterback. They're gonna want to pick six this fella. So they're gonna take chances. Maybe Dotson just breaks one. So I actually like Dotson a decent amount. What does Dallas do? What do you guys think Dallas does?
They are playing all out 4 quarters to win this football game. I'm 100% confident in that.
Really?
I don't think there's any path where they don't play to win here, personally.
They did it just last year or so.
They did it last year, and in their head, they still think they have a shot at that number 1 seed, which technically they do. But again, the Eagles are not losing to the Giants, who are resting all their players. The Cowboys should just not play any of their starters. Clearly, they're going to play their guys the full 4 quarters. That's why I don't love Williams. On FanDuel, though, he's $5K minimum price for a running back. Fine with that for sure. If he gets 8 or 9, like, you take that. Got to do more on DK. So I don't love him as much on DK, but I think Dallas plays all out here. I don't like him
Okay, so do you
Fantasy either way.
think, like, let's say Philadelphia in the third quarter is up 28-7. You still think they're going to be playing all out?
Yeah, they're just not a smart team. I mean, Jerry Jones wants wins. McCarthy's a moron. Like, I think they're going to play their guys.
Okay, so how do we make money on it? Are we playing CeeDee Lamb? Are we playing one of these running backs, Hoop?
I still don't like them, I guess is that. I mean, even if they're going to play all the way through, I still just don't like these guys all that much. Maybe Dalton Schultz or someone like that. I'm just not going to spend a big price tag on anyone. The one guy, though, I will say, here's the Millie Maker. Here's my play right here.
Actually. Oh, don't say this guy.
T.Y. Hilton.
Well, that's even worse than who I thought you were going to say.
Really? Worse than
who I was thinking he's going to say.
I thought you were going to go to Gallup.
That was not a hoop tag. Where'd that come from?
T.Y. Hilton is gonna be.
Hoop just has a jar of shitty guys that Crain might recommend.
How did he
pulls
get
it out? Let's see what this
jar?
one says.
T.Y. Hilton is the play.
That was not a hoop.
T.Y. Hilton is the play today. Get him in your player pools, folks. Get him in there.
Wow.
Hoop
says he has to leave in 9 minutes, and he's just trying to throw up the.
He better make it another game because man, he can't go out. He can't finish the season with that take.
What
you guys? I'm telling you, Tony, just a little bit, man. All I'm saying, just play a little bit. He's on the field. He's getting more reps. They love him.
Hey, there is no room for just the tip on the wood, buddy.
No, that's not even just the tip. That's like a finger.
That's a full penetration play. That is your ball sack is bouncing off the anus type play right there. You are full thrust. You are full thrust, and your sack is hitting butt hole.
Hoop has quit. He's quit. I really just hear that is your ball sack bouncing off.
This was the worst 2-minute segment in real history.
What just happened?
That is ball.
That says a lot. We've had a lot of bad takes over there. This was the worst 2 minutes ever.
I'm telling you, T.Y. Hilton is the ball sack off the butthole play of the day.
Well, let's go on to the Eagles. I'll tell you what, I've got some segues in my bag. I don't have one for that.
Yeah. Only to even need Dambo to come up with something to bounce off that thing. All
right. Let's see. Let's move on to our next game and see if the Eagles can bounce off the Giants. It's a 42.5-point total. The Eagles are 16.5 point. Tony, talk to us about this game. I got nothing, man.
So, Philly, we got another spot here. The Giants have less than anybody. They've already sat their dudes. I mean, this is going to be the actual spot where the Cincy, where it's 21-3, and then they run the ball the whole second half. So, what does that mean? You look at the Giants guys. They got this Brightwell guy should get all the work at running back. I don't think they'll even run Breida that much. They like him as a backup for the playoffs. So I could see Brightwell getting like all the – I forget – who was the other guy you said at 4,300, the guy in the last game?
Jonathan Williams.
Yeah, very similar play to me here with Brightwell. 4,400, very, very – he should play the whole game, I think. So he would be the Giants guy. Philly, exactly like those other spots. What do you think they do? How long do they play? I'm confident they're going to score early. But what happens in the second half when they're up? It's just part of Week 18. I think they roll, but I mean, this is another reason that Dallas should sit their guy. Like, there's just no scenario that this team loses. Like, they're not losing to the Giants' backups when they're playing for the freaking 1 seed. The Giants aren't even going to let it happen. So I don't know. I can't play Philly unless it's like Boston Scott or something. You just don't need it. So I'm off Philly. I'll make it easy.
Hoop, are you on Philly at all? I don't know what else to say. I'm still
regardless of the statements previously made, I do like T.Y. Hilton. That wasn't a joke. Like I think he's a play today.
You just circled back to him again, Crain.
Yeah, he's in my head. It's stuck in my head because now I got other things. I'm thinking
about not the only thing stuck in my head.
I like Philly more earlier on in the week. I mean, the fact that the Giants are just giving in on this game and playing their backups, like, man, it's going to be an easy win for the Eagles. All the motivation in the world for the Eagles. You know, they need this for the 1 seed, and then you get to play against backups at home. Yeah, I mean, these backup running backs for Philly, probably pretty interesting for tournaments. Probably my favorite backup running back type spot for sure. If you play Hurts to AJ Brown or Devonta Smith, you probably got to get it early, and they got to go off early because I just don't see them having much playing time, I guess, in the second half. So really agree with what Tony had to say.
All right, let's talk Cardinals at San Fran, 40.5-point total. The San Francisco 14.5-point favorites. And last week, I made a big boy mistake. I said Christian McCaffrey, I thought they were going to pull back a little bit. We've got, they're going to rest guys for the playoffs. And all he did was just shove it up my ass. That's all he did. And it did not work out very well. Tony, are you going?
Segue. You should have gone to this game.
That is my segue.
You missed a golden opportunity.
Yep.
Missed it.
I don't know what to do. All right. Tony, are you messing with Christian McCaffrey today or anybody on San Fran?
Same situation for me. I mean, San Fran is playing. They want to win. They're a big favorite too. They want to be the 2 seed. I think they get the 2 seed if they win, and all the other stuff happens. Whatever. They can't get the 1 as long as Philly wins. So I think they take it easy. There's no way I'm playing McCaffrey. He's not going to get the work in the second half. I just don't see it. No reason to play any San Fran guys. Arizona, definitely not either. I'm off this game.
What about Elijah Mitchell, 4K?
I don't mind him. I just think they still want him in the playoffs. I think they'll give him some work, but does he get enough work to matter? I don't think so. They're not going to give him 18 carries or something.
The chat says Skylar Thompson, Zach Moss, and T.Y. Hilton. Core
Bill,
Bill, got it.
Hey, now you guys might bring me on the Skylar Thompson side of things. If we get a T.Y. Hilton play mixed in there.
Oh, man. Hoop, any interest in San Francisco for you?
Yeah, same mindset. And they have rested some guys during practice throughout the week too. So I think they're more aware of the situation than Dallas is. So I don't think these guys, even with Eli Mitchell, they want him in the playoffs. They're going to want him. He's going to have a role in the playoffs. I don't think they just jam him in here for a ton of carries. So yeah, I'll be fading this one.
The chat wants us to talk about Greg Dortch. He's had 21 targets over his last 2 weeks. It's tough to ignore for 3-8. Also, they might not score any points, which would be an issue. Any Greg Dortch love for you, Hoop?
It'd be in the player pool. Just not a priority at all. The targets are nice, but when they're coming from David Blau, they're less meaningful.
Former Lions great, David Blau.
Correct. Yes. Yep.
Tony, any interest in Dortch for you?
Definitely not.
All right, let's move on to our next game. Hoop, I know you got to get going, man.
No,
appreciate doing the show. Okay.
I'll grind it
out
with us through the end here.
Appreciate you. The kid can just come in off the bench. That's just all right.
Right off the bench.
Yeah.
We're going right from the card to the court.
Chargers at Broncos, 39.5-point total. Denver, 3-point favorites at home. Russell Wilson, he has looked better. He's 5.4K. You compare him up with Jerry Jeudy, you know just who to go with. Albert O also at 2.9 is interesting. And on the Chargers side, I'm not messing with the Chargers today. Tony, what are you doing with this game?
Chargers, another team that playing for literally nothing. Unless Baltimore somehow won in the morning, then they know they're not playing for anything. So none of these guys are going to play. You can always circle back if Baltimore somehow beats Cincinnati, because then they would definitely play their guys, I think. But I don't know. I'm definitely not on the Chargers. They're a team no interest whatsoever in. And the Broncos, you can go to these guys. I just don't really want to. Latavius has looked decent. I do think the Broncos will try to win this game just to go off into the sunset with at least some positive after a horrible year. The biggest letdown year.
It's not like they have a draft pick to protect.
Yeah. I think they try to win for sure. You look at the spread, they're only -3. So I actually like betting them today too. I think they win easy. You're obviously hoping you're screwed if Baltimore somehow wins, but I don't see that happening. And I'll bet Denver and hope it doesn't. That line, you will see the biggest line move you've ever seen if Baltimore somehow wins. Yeah. That thing will go. The Chargers will end up favored by 4 or 5 points when they're a 3-point dog right now.
Can I give you guys a super cheap 1% wide receiver in this game?
The show can't get worse, so yeah.
So no,
can't be better than T.Y.
With guys like this, I definitely it's not better. It's definitely not worse than T.Y. Are you kidding me? No, I don't think DeAndre Carter's the craziest play in the world. Because look, if they rest their starters, he might legit be a number one receiver today at 4.1K. He's got big playability, and I like guys like that are cheap. He can get there with 1 or 2 catches, and he might be a number one receiver today. And look, it's a tough matchup, I'll give you that, but at 4-1, you don't need a ton. Hoop, I saw you giving a little look of approval there.
I actually like that call. I think that's a good call because people aren't banking on this Chargers situation because it's a 4 p.m. Eastern game. So people aren't taking that into account. That's probably my favorite out of all the shitballs you've mentioned on this show.
It's a hell of a lot
coming
better
from
than
the guy
T.Y. Hilton.
that mentioned T.Y. Hilton.
Yeah. Tony, I'd see you writing DeAndre Carter down on your notepad.
I was actually on my phone, but I'm with you guys though. I don't mind the take. I'm not going to make fun of it because I agree with everything you said, and he has incentives too, right? Or some sort of incentives.
I saw there. I don't care as much about that, but I did see.
I saw something with it though. This is an incentive type game though. If they're not playing for anything, I can see them pumping DeAndre a little, whatever the incentive was. I'm sure someone knows out there, but I seen something with him. If he gets something, then he was in there. But I like the call either way. And just one note from the chat to the live show chat. Mark Andrews and right guard Zietler for Baltimore, usually in short sleeves. Now they're in sweats. So you could start to see these Baltimore dudes sit, which if Baltimore truly does sit their guys, I just have to like Cincy less fantasy-wise. Bets-wise, bet it right now when you can get 9.5 on DraftKings Sportsbook. That number's going up. That number's a lock. I haven't given many locks this year. 9.5 on DraftKings is going up. Bet it right now. If these guys get rolled out, I mean, they're gonna pound this team. So it makes me like DFS less though, for sure.
I'm off. I think I'm off the Bengals. Like I was wanting to play Jamar Chase, and I just don't think I can do it.
You just better get it early. They're going to score early. You just got to enjoy the early points.
Yeah. This is
you're not getting
man.
in the second half from Jamar Chase.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Jamar Chase was injured too, so like they're definitely not going crazy with him in the second half.
They said the backup quarterback, not Huntley, but the other dude, what's his name, was getting all the reps in practice too. They're full on resting their dudes. That spread's going to be like what, probably 15.
I mean, it might not be that high, but anything above 10 is a significant edge right now, and you can bet it at 9.5 because I could see it literally falling 10. I could see them winning by 10 in this game. Like it's a big advantage to bet that thing right now at 9.5.
How much is the Bengals defense? Like, can you play the Bengals defense in DFS?
I just don't think Baltimore's going to do anything though. They're going to just run it and try to get out of there. Right. And Brown can't throw. We've seen him in college. He can't throw. I don't know.
All right, let's move on to our last game. Who appreciate you sticking it out with us. 41.5 point total between the Rams and the Seahawks. Seattle 6-point favorites at home. And Hoop, I'll throw it to you, man. What are we doing here? Are we playing Metcalf and Lockett at no ownership? On the Rams side, of course, Cam Akers is going to get some ownership, rightfully so. He's looked great. What are we doing in this game?
Yeah, this is pretty interesting game, obviously, because Seattle needs to win, and they're going up against the Rams, who have nothing to play for, and then it sounds like McVay might be out at the end of the season as well. So pretty interesting dynamic here. On the Seattle side, maybe it's just Geno Smith. Maybe he's our guy at quarterback. They have everything to play for. He's cheap at $6K. You can pair him up with DK Metcalf. Maybe that's the route we go here today. Because of some of these other spots looking a little more sketchy now. So I love Geno to Metcalf. Kenneth Walker is going to be very popular, but rightfully so. I think he's a really good option here. So all three of those guys, really good plays. On the Rams side, a little more worried about Cam Akers just because the Week 18 thing. He has looked good, though. I'll probably be off him.
Tony, you playing any of these Seahawks guys?
The interesting spot of the week for sure, because if they win and the Packers lose, then obviously they'd be in. So they need to win. I just haven't been on Seattle all year, so I just don't think they're good. And the Rams are going to play to win because they don't have anything to lose. They've kind of played hard lately. This is just an ugly game for me, though. I think Seattle will get decent ownership. Like Kenneth Walker's going to be the highest owned guy of the slate, maybe, because they need to win. I just don't think it's as good of a spot as other people, but the one advantage is you at least know he's getting all the work. Like, there's other spots you don't know for sure. You know he's getting huge workload in a spot they have to win. So I get it. I could definitely see myself ending up on him. Even though I don't like Seattle as much, he's going to get 20-plus carries, and they need to win. So I probably should keep him in strong consideration, even though he's chalk. I'm definitely not playing the passing game, though. And, yeah, I mean, I can't play Akers, I don't think. He's been pretty good lately, but I don't think I can go there. And, yeah.
All right. Well, you got to let us
The
know.
interesting thing, though, before you get him out of here, just because I do think it's very important today, you got the late game on FanDuel. I'm telling you, and people still won't give it enough attention because it's what's the freaking total? It's a
49.5
total.
Yeah.
And you got the Packers are going to have to win either way. So honestly, and what happens when Seattle somehow loses and Detroit can get in too? This becomes by far the premium game of the day. And so many people play the same teams on FanDuel that they do on DK that you're going to get lower owner. What if this game was at 1 p.m.? How freaking chalky would it be?
If I could play one combo today, it would be Rodgers to Watson.
I love Rodgers to Watson on FanDuel. Like, I don't know how you don't play that. Like, they're going to crush.
Yep. That's if I could stack one spot, that would be it.
In Detroit, I think gets eliminated if Seattle wins. But even if they get eliminated, Detroit, as Hoop knows, they've played hard all year for this guy. They're going to want to knock the Packers out. Make no mistake about it. They do not want the Packers. They're going to play hard no matter what. I promise you. So this game on FanDuel, I think you should just definitely have tons of pieces from this game, 100%.
All right, Hoop, did the people do enough to get our plays of the day? We got to be a little generous now. It's the last of the day.
Just sitting at 9 bills. I mean, what do you guys think? We only got 400 personal likes.
We've got such good plays that I think we just give it to them.
All right.
I mean, all our strong plays from the show, we got to showcase them.
That's true. All right, Hoop. Let's go to Hoop for the.
God, if he doesn't say T.Y. Hilton,
I've already given that one though. That's like that's already locked in, and it's like a new play and everything.
The Hoop Rich Parent play of the day. Who you got?
A guy I haven't played a ton of this season, but kind of goes with our bet or Tony's bet that he really liked. Najee Harris, I think, is just the best play on the slate, so he'll be the Rich Parents play of the day.
Tony, workbench play of the day.
It's only one answer. I already gave it. Zach Moss, baby.
Oh man. Oh yeah. Really? Yeah. I'm a 2 running back guy today, and I might end up having Zach Moss.
Let's go, Crain.
It's funny because Najee is locked in. Najee is locked into my lineup.
There we go. That's what we do. We build a full team for a little mini core here between the three of us.
Well, I'm going to start it off with one receiver for you guys. This is the guy that I absolutely love for the Eric's prison look play of the day, and that's Mr. Stephon Diggs at 7-9. I know that there's a little bit concerned that this game doesn't quite shoot out, but Diggs is just in such a good spot, and I don't think he can be too popular, and I feel like he's about $1,000 too cheap. So Stephon Diggs is going to be my play of the day. And guys, I want to make sure before we get out of here, I want to thank Tony and thank Hoop for bringing me on to Run Pure Sports to host this show every week. It's been a lot of fun this season. Love doing the shows here. Hopefully we can do it again next year. And you guys watching in the chat, thank you guys so much for watching. Obviously, we would not be doing these shows if it weren't for you. So appreciate you watching. Appreciate you hanging out with us each and every Sunday. Check us out on runpuresports.com. We got a lot going on, a lot of fun stuff. And God, we're just crushing it right now. I even made money in NBA yesterday. So if I can make money in NBA using the Run Pure Sports content, anybody can. But we got to jump off here. We got up to a lot coming up here in just a little bit. For Hoop, for Tony, I'm Eric for Helmet Behind the Scenes. We'll catch y'all later. Peace.